It looks like a straight up shadow figure.
All three of these do, yeah.
And then this one is like sitting down.
Dude, that one freaks me out the most. I kind of can't look at it. I'm not joking. Like, it freaks me out. It looks like either a child-sized ghost, or it's hard to tell scale here, or an adult-sized ghost sat on the floor, maybe cross-legged, or kind of, or with their knees up and their arms on their knees.
It just looks like a dark figure. What?
But this one, you can tell by the way it's positioned that they're facing the camera. And the fact that you can't see any discerning details, you can't see the face. I see Kat and Christian both have their photos up, so they're looking at it too. But like, it's deeply unsettling. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny because I've always said, like, oh man, why can't we get pictures? Why can't we get like tangible evidence? Like, we're in the future now. Now I look at it and I go, this looks set up as hell.
Yeah. Well, now you're just trying to debunk it.
It's like
if you do,
it's so clear, which is what I wanted, but it's so weird.
but it's like, yeah, it is. It's paranormal.
It just looks like
it's beyond normal.
Like the staircase is like there's someone.
I'm sure if you looked up,
it
weird,
looks like someone in a damn costume.
It
looks like someone in a costume just walking down the stairs.
Or in like a gown or something.
Yeah.
It ain't no bananas in pajamas.
And the first one, I'm like, that's someone in a hoodie.
Yeah.
And
how about that one? That
found
one's
a way to cover their face, so you can't
that
see
second
anything.
one is somebody in one of those skin suits, one of those morph suits,
down.
just in a black morph suit, sitting down.
See, to me, it looks like in the second one, like they're crawling toward the camera.
Oh God,
that's what I see.
Ooh, don't.
Yeah, it
Like,
looks like they're
crawl.
Yeah. Don't give him.
Yeah, they're crawling through.
That. I don't. I'm putting that away. He does. It looks going from cross-legged to like starting to enter a crawl, leading to
like one of those like, oh, I noticed you watching me. I'm gonna come through the camera.
Yeah, I see the little red light blinking.
Yeah.
Let me come
so
through
that
the
was
camera
during the day
to you. Yeah, that was. Yeah, you see the timestamp in the photo too. These are all during the day.
And then I guess it's being streamed. So were people just like freaking out?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, like this is where it entered the realm of the internet, right? It's streaming online, and people are kind of camping on the cameras and waiting for things to happen. But hey, what gives me solace is that they have been relatively inactive, or at least no stories or sightings for about 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years.
So we can go spur those up, send you in there. All right. So let's talk about the theories section. Not a whole lot of information here, but the theories aren't necessarily, I should say, who done it, as they tend to be for our podcast, but
like,
who is it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's discuss that. Again, it's a ghost, so there's not a whole lot of information to go off of, but rather stories and anecdotes, right? So the most commonly believed theory regarding the identity of the Lady in Gray is that it is the ghost of Willard's still furious daughter, Louise, that she haunts the halls as a punishment to her father for funding the library instead of his children. Now, Louise died on February 8th of 1908 at the age of 64, and the first haunting wasn't reported until 1937. So I don't know if she was like collecting her energy, figuring out how to haunt, for the next 29 years or what have you, but there is a difference in time. So again, I don't know if people become ghosts right away, but there is something to be said about the time difference.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a big time jump.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, it's like the daughter was so vengeful. It just seems like this ghost is so playful.
That's a very good point. The gut check comes in. I think he's got a sixth sense. So here's the thing. Many people do object, not most, but a lot of people do object to the idea of Louise being the ghost for that exact reason.
Yeah.
That they think the Gray Lady would have the opposite personality if it was Louise and she was being vengeful.
Oh, yes.
Because, the ghost as we see it, as the stories stand, it seems to be that of a timid, shy, gentle, harmless, and perhaps confused ghost. And Louise would have been otherwise very angry, perhaps vengeful towards the library. But that could answer to the throwing of the throwing of the books and moving of the furniture, and wanting to antagonize visitors in resentment towards the father too. If there's no visitors, then there's no library.
A terrible job.
And maybe that's why she retired in 2010. She's like, listen, I've been dead for 102 years. I need to bounce.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, you can make an argument for it, but no.
Yeah, there's no really commonalities between the last sighting being on August 10th of 2010, or February was when she passed away in 1908. So there's no like I'm trying to figure out if there's any sort of like month or anniversary kind of things that I can draw like lines between, but there's not really anything.
For me, the strongest like tie would have been like the dates, but as soon as they were so far apart, I went, I don't know.
Right.
Not that I'm like a ghost expert or anything like that, but I just don't see it.
Mm-hmm. Now, the second and kind of more vague theory for who this ghost is not really much of an answer at all. It's that this is the kind of ghost of a woman, perhaps, who just loved books, maybe lived in the area and liked books so much in her past life that she couldn't stand to be away from them. And so this being such a popular and well-established old facility with a plethora of books could be a place that a ghost might navigate towards, especially, like I mentioned, having such a wealth of resources for genealogy.
You've really got to love books to not like pass into the afterlife.
That's true.
And just stay around in a library.
Yeah, I mean,
that's wild.
That's, what is that, 73 years?
Yeah.
If the ghost doesn't pick up activity again, that would be 73 years of activity. That is a lifetime's worth.
Yep.
And you know what? You know what, though? If somebody liked books enough and made that wish of like, you know what? I wish I could live a lifetime in a library just learning, absorbing everything I could. And then she's just going like, hey, I'm just using the elevator like the next person would. Don't be scared.
I mean, I would assume you're just hanging out and you're confined to a library because I just think that ghosts would be confined to an area.
Right.
You would do
like there's
stuff.
some sort of energy to feed off of there.
Yeah, you do stuff. You'd be like, I'm going to take the elevator like I was a regular human.
Right.
Why not?
I'm
sure I could float through this, but
right. What if you like passed away and ended up, getting stuck on the highway? Like I haunt this stretch of highway, or I haunt this porta potty.
People do that, like bridges and stuff like that.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
Where you see them only as you just approach them,
dude.
But only on a misty night.
Can you imagine? Like, I would swerve out the way.
Yeah, and then you become one of them.
Someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it activates my mutant genome.
Well, no.
Damn.
Please don't do that. So here's the thing. We can talk about the lady in gray, but I don't want to lose sight of this shadowy figure.
Who's the second figure?
Now, who is that? That's the question.
Yeah.
And did this shadowy figure that only seemed to show up and have sightings starting around the 80s, did this other potentially more sinister ghost have anything to do with the sightings discontinuing? Maybe this is the Grim Reaper showing up and being like, baby, you got to go to the afterlife beyond.
Time's up.
Yeah.
Get out.
Time to get out. But that is the Willard Library, the story of the ghost of Willard Library.
It's a unique one.
Very unique. I'm really happy we covered this.
You were like, this ghost hunts the library. And I went, okay.
Very vanilla, but let's continue.
All right.
It is what it is. But
sounds very straightforward. But
we always have those little twists and turns.
Stream,
there's a reason we cover everything we do.
But like live stream ghosts seems like a pleasant haunting.
Right.
Like the person that created what is it? Starts with a W? No, Carpenter.
Willard Carpenter.
Willard Carpenter seemed like a pleasant person.
Seems like a pleasant person.
That was a nice haunting.
Yeah. You know what, actually? Jesus Christ. Someone fighting a ghost out in the hallway. That scared the crap out of me.
Someone kicked the trash can outside. Scared the hell out of me.
Someone's out there banging and slanging weights around.
Yeah.
Like it's just like they're a buff scientist looking for some beakers.
I get it. You got to create different gadgets for the task force, but like,
come on. Settle down.
We're the top dogs here.
I know the shirt's available now, and just because you put it on doesn't mean you need to bang and slang. You
fitness
can.
through chemistry.
Yeah. Store.roosterteeth.com if you want to represent. Thank you all so much for those of you who have already. But
buff physically or buff in mind.
Yeah, we got those buff brains out there in the task force. But here's the thing. I want to actually, I was going to say maybe before I got scared by whatever that was, maybe the ghost transcended to the internet and we got haunted web pages now. That would be cool if there's haunted websites out there.
Yeah, who's to say? I mean, we discussed this, I think, a long time ago, but right? They've got to evolve at some point.
Well, isn't that kind of the premise of The Ring?
Technology. Yeah, true.
Well, before we leave, I want to end on kind of like a little fun note. Gracie put a little fun fact here at the end of the outline, and the Willard Library, as this fact goes, is home to the world record of overdue books. Not in number, but in length, right? And they have this book on display now. So this book was initially checked out on March 29th of 1937. And would you know it, this book wasn't returned until February 29th of 1992. So you know what? Maybe this was the unfinished business of the
Could
ghost.
you imagine?
So yeah, maybe they predicted that this book would be checked out and not returned.
Now I'm free.
And then once
The
it
book
stayed
is
stable
returned.
and they put it in the display, they're like, I may go now.
I mean, honestly, who's to say, man?
Right.
Like, it totally could have been something like that. We'll never know, right?
Yeah.
You like to think it's some like complex story. It could have just been as simple as someone really loved that book, had it tied to it, became a ghost, and then it was returned. So they were like, I can go home now.
Could you imagine checking out a book and being like, my grandkid will take this one back? You know?
And then you're just stuck in a library.
No, not like ignoring the ghost part, but just
Oh.
being like, in 1937, you're like, I'm checking out this book. And then if somebody were to tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, you don't have kids yet, but your grandchild is going to be the one that returns that book. Wouldn't that be wild?
I'd be like, damn, like, did I turn into a hoarder?
You're right. Like,
I
what
would have
happened
thrown that
to me?
away immediately.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that is the story of Willard Library. The ghost, the identity, yet to be determined. We got the shadowy figure, all very unknown. But Task Force, as we mentioned, if you want to check it out, you want to get your hands
Pull
dirty,
it up.
pull it up. They stream 24/7. You can check out the library, and maybe someday you can see Red Web through those very lenses. If we get our hands wet a little bit, we get out there and start investigating again. This is something we've been
I'm
kicking
gonna
around a lot. Task
slither- I'm gonna
Force.
slither around the floor.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah, all goopy.
That's my ectoplasmic
Yeah,
snake.
This is my,
That's my partner in crime. The library is like, excuse me, can I help you? Don't bother him. He's an expert in his
Yeah.
field.
I'm gonna get you, ghost. Follow my slime trail.
His methods might seem unorthodox, but damn it, does he get results?
Yes, results.
And
The
then
ghost just stick to him.
He's just slithering around on a hoverboard, like
I'm
greasing up the
pure.
place. Anyway, thanks for listening. Fredo, I'll see you right back here next Monday for another mystery.
Well, unless it's scary, I won't show up.
We'll see you then.
Do you ever find yourself awake in the middle of the night reading real-life stories that make your skin crawl?
Uh-huh.
Medieval torture devices?
Yeah,
What about grave robbers?
that too. If you've ever wondered, hey, what the heck exactly is necrocannibalism? Well, it's a little weird to ask that, but don't worry, because 30 Morbid Minutes is the new podcast that seeks to answer this question and more.
Each episode takes a deep dive into topics, people, and places of a morbid, macabre, and downright grisly nature, all pulled from history and the headlines of today.
30 Morbid Minutes is hosted by me, Elise Willems.
And me, Jessica Vasami.
We're here to ask questions and learn more about the world around us through, admittedly, a somewhat disturbing lens.
Subscribe and listen to 30 Morbid Minutes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, you twisted individual.
This is a Rooster Teeth production.
In the mid-1970s, a series of brutal killings were committed in California. While there were only a handful of confirmed cases, it is theorized that there were more than 20 victims. The case remains unsolved, though there are developments as recent as 2022. Today, we dive into the morbid case of the Doodler. This is Red Web. Welcome back, Task Force, to another Monday. This is Red Web. I'm Trevor Collins, and with me is Alfredo Diaz. Fredo, we are experiencing another morbid story in
Yep.
the realms of San Francisco
Yep.
here in the 1970s.
Back in my hometown, the Yay area. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? The hyphy movement. Sorry, I'm just taking
No,
it back.
please.
Look, there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
side
yeah.
of Alfredo
Let it
you
out.
guys don't know. But yes, yeah, back in
Wait a
back in the-
minute, I thought I knew everything about you.
Nah,
I can't-
nah.
What?
Depends what the settings is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel me? Like right now I'm on the podcast. So hello, hi. How you guys doing? You know?
It's like he's talking to a mom right now.
Hello. Yes, I am dating your daughter. Yes.
Your
hello.
customer service.
But okay, yeah, this is the Bay Area. I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You're introing this episode,
Sure.
and I was following along, and I not that everything was wiped from memory when you
When I
gave
dropped the
me
name?
The name.
Yeah.
The Doodler?
The Doodler. So here's the thing. This is a very serious case with a very goofy, cartoonish name.
So weird.
And there's a reason for the name being the Doodler that we'll get into. But we're going to break this one down because, as I mentioned, there are revelations as recent as at least the recording of this episode 2 months ago.
Oh.
There are updates to this case. So this case is, despite being the heart of it being in the 70s,
Right.
there's information that continues to draw out.
These
to
are some
this
of the
day.
best cases when there's like still ongoing and you're still getting drips of information.
Oh, yeah.
The Doodler.
Doodler.
The guy or person either draws or is a murder case,
Yes.
or their victim is other men.
You are factual on both of those. What I tell you, Christian, this man's got a gut instinct that I think
Wait,
at this point
on
beyond the
both?
natural.
Straight up.
This man is supernatural.
On
and
both?
I'm pivoting the episode to talk about him.
Well, rewrite
This
the
is
hook. Take it
freaking
from
me
the
out.
top.
No, but truly, yes. I also want to give a trigger warning due to the nature of the MO here to our LGBT plus listeners out there, because the MO behind this killer is typically that of gay white men. Those are the victims that this person tends to go for, as well as the Doodler being for, yes, drawing, to put it succinctly.
Wow. Do a lot of these killings? I mean, you're saying it's in San Francisco, right?
It's in San Francisco.
So are a lot of the killings in the Castro district?
I don't know the districts of San
I don't know
Francisco.
the districts
Oh,
either.
okay. It's just somewhere
You
in San
tell me.
Francisco.
We'll
Yeah.
name
Cool.
some locations, and then you can
Yes.
tell us.
The Castro district, which is like a specific district in San Francisco, is considered to be like one of the gay capitals of the world.
Yeah.
Pleasant place. I lived there for a couple of years. Fantastic.
It is very possible that that is the area. We're going to get
but
specific.
that's where like, the gay shops, clubs,
Yeah.
restaurants. That's wherever, you know what I mean. Like everyone, like
Yeah.
of any sexual preference, flocks there. But
Mhm.
like that's where you go and you see a high traffic of men and men, women and women,
Sure.
combinations of every which way, single people, non-single people, etc.
Absolutely.
Everyone's just flocking over there. A lot of dicks. There's a great
Hey, you know what?
cookie
Let 'em
shop.
out.
There's sometimes I do.
Free the peen.
San Francisco is very free. There's a great cookie shop there that makes delicious cookies, but they're all in shapes of dicks.
I thought you were going to say something. There's a great cookie shop and they make fantastic something else, like
No,
pretzels.
they make fantastic dick cookies.
Hey,
It's
all right.
Great.
Yeah, so you tell me, because we have some very specific areas
Okay.
that these cases all kind of surround it. They're honestly, these cases that we're going to outline, the confirmed victims, then we're going to go into the investigation and then kind of break down how the investigation unfolded and then move on into kind of the recent updates and the theories behind who could be behind this and maybe a little bit of why, as much as we can glean from that.
Yeah.
But let's dive in, set the scene. January 24th of 1974. 49-year-old Gerald Kavanaugh was found lying face up on Ocean Beach in San Francisco, California. The police received a call around 1:30 a.m. that night which said, quote, "I believe there might be a dead person on the beach across from Aloha Street if you follow the street right down to the water." He was fully clothed and investigators found that the wounds he faced occurred before his death because Kavanaugh also had defensive wounds on his hands, essentially saying that he had held his hands up
Right.
to stop any incoming knife slashes or what have you.
That's what I was gonna say. It's
Yeah.
probably a knife, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't think that you put your hands up to try and stop a bullet.
But yeah, a defensive wound tends to be on the palms or the open hands as if to stop an incoming
Damn, I was
attack.
hoping you'd say like. I mean, I would say like test to see if he had any scratch markings, if there's any DNA in the fingernails. like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
but-
Usually it's the other way around where the DNA ends up under the nails if you can find
Yeah,
somebody.
under.
No, it looks like this one was a knife, and it stands to reason that the other victims also featured heavily a knife. And we'll see why here later on. But ultimately, when it came to Kavanaugh, he was a very private individual. He was single, so there wasn't a lot of information on his personal life available. In fact, so little was known about him at the time that his identity was not determined right away. This was just a John Doe until eventually people looked into it. Now, what's interesting here with regards to Ocean Beach is that that beach is known for a place for gay men to meet up. And so I don't know if in particular Ocean Beach is in the district that you were talking about, but this, at least in the 70s, was one of those kind of spots. as it
Yeah, I
were.
mean, there's various spots, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like Ocean Beach, I could see people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know San Francisco is very LGBT
Mhm.
friendly. So that's Gerald Kavanaugh. That's the first victim here. Now, the second one I want to talk about happened 6 months after the first known victim of the Doodler. Again, these are all known victims that are all eventually attributed to the same killer. There are other potential victims out there, but these are the ones that are confirmed. This person, the second body found, was that of Joseph J. Stevens, and that was discovered on June 25th, also 1974. There was a woman taking a walk who found his body along Spreckles Lake there in Golden Gate Park. Stevens was quickly identified because he was a local celebrity who performed comedy shows in drag. He was 27 years old at the time and was last seen performing at the Cabaret Club. Stevens had only been dead for just a few hours, and police believed that he had died traveling to the beach with the killer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Golden Gate Park is huge.
Very big.
You could store thousands of bodies there. It's just a big stretch of a park that just spans a lot of San Francisco. Unfortunate, because this person that did drag shows in San Francisco are they're a hoot.
Mm-hmm.
You go in, you have a good time, you're having drinks, there's great music, you have people dancing up on stage, and you have the drag queens come out and like goof around like with the audience and everything. It's a fantastic show. So the fact that, and I've been to a handful and it's been a very great time. So the fact that like this was someone who was, a drag performer, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. That's,
Very well known in the area as
Yeah.
well. Very young.
yeah.
27 years old. Yeah, bit of a bummer. But as you can see now, the MO is starting to develop.
Yep.
And I think police started to identify this at the time as well. But we'll go into some of the hangups with identifying that MO and why this kind of was so hard to pinpoint at this time.
This
But
was a knife victim as well?
this was another knife victim, yes. Now, just a few days later, this one has a much shorter distance to the previous victim, unfortunately. July 7th, the body of Klaus Christman was found on the same beach as Kavanaugh. That was Ocean Beach. Christman had wife and kids, but was living separately from them at the time. Because he was found with makeup in his pocket, police believed that Christman was also gay and connected his murders back to Stevens. The nature of the injuries connected all three victims as well as the removal of their IDs. So at this point, yes, the knife is in play with each of the victims, as well as a very specific move to remove their identification from either their wallets, their pockets, or what have you, to try to make it a little bit harder to identify who these folks are.
Well, the scary thing right now is that this killer's gaining confidence.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
You had the first murder that we know of, and then 6 months later, another murder. But immediately after, days later,
Like 2 weeks, kind of.
2 weeks
Yeah,
later,
something like that.
like the third. So
Yeah.
it's ramping up.
Well, you say that, but it wasn't until almost a year later that a fourth victim was confirmed to be attributed to whoever this person was. This was on May 12th of 1975, and Frederick Elmer Kappen was found behind a sand dune, again on Ocean Beach. Kappen, who was 32 at the time of his death, was a Navy veteran and more easily identifiable because he was a registered nurse. And you might know your significant other is a registered nurse, and nurses have to give their fingerprints, and this helped confirm his identity at the time. Also, due to the markings in the sand around where his body was found, it is believed that his body was moved around 20 feet. Now, I don't know if that was in order to try to hide the body
Interesting.
or what those markings were, but also markings in sand don't last very long.
No.
So it's a very interesting note there. But then the next victim we're going to talk about, almost like you said, he was picking up speed, then suddenly it was like almost a year gap, and then he has one in May, and then one just less than a month later in June, on June 4th.
It feels like he killed, took a break, killed two, and then it was like, okay, I got to cool off again.
Right.
And now he's, killed.
It's kind of sporadic.
Yeah, where he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna take a break, and
Right.
when I do kill, I'm gonna do like beach,
Mhm.
Golden Gate Park Beach. And it's like, this is his two locations that he's very comfortable with.
For sure. Well, I'm glad I get to pull you down off your supernatural gut check instincts pedestal, because now we have a different park in play.
Uh-oh.
I don't know how close this one is, so tell me. So again, June 4th, the body of Harold Goldberg was found in Lincoln Park. Would that be in a similar area to
Yeah, I mean,
Golden State Park?
that's still an SF. I mean, you could pretty much drive like 20 minutes, like in any direction in San Francisco and still it like hit like the different
Yeah.
corners of it.
That's true, because like ultimately I know that
But
these
I know,
are all.
I mean, these are all areas I've hung out in.
Yeah, these
Like,
are all within like a
Lincoln
4
Park
mile,
and-
I think, radius.
Yeah, it's
that I
very close.
think about it. But Goldberg was an immigrant from Sweden and was 66 years old. So this person
Wow,
was much
much
older.
older.
Yeah, exactly. Much older than the other victims. His pants were found to be unzipped and his underwear was removed, and it was estimated that he had been dead for upwards of 2 weeks when he was found. So this one, it seemed like, missed being found for quite some time. So there's something different about this one. But Goldberg is believed to have been the final victim of the supposed doodler. But police in general believe that there could be as many as 16 others.
What?
Yeah. So
Where were these bodies being put?
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Like, the reason why these are all attributed is to the nature of the victims, the way they were found, the wounds that they had, etc.
But are we saying like the MO could have changed up and that's why we're not like linking it together?
It's that, but a couple of other reasons that I'll kind of get into here
Okay.
as I talk about the investigation. But ultimately, this could address that long swath of time that the person kind of took away
Right.
from seeming to do their criminal
Their
acts.
evil ways.
Yeah. But let's push forward. Let's talk about the investigation, because due to the prejudice towards the gay community at the time, the Doodler murders did not get as much investigation and media coverage as they probably should have.
Yeah.
At this time, if you know much about your history, it was still difficult for people to be out, and they could be arrested or even attacked just for being out. San Francisco, as we kind of mentioned, is a very LGBT-friendly area, and it has been historically, and that's why a lot of this activity is happening probably in this city, you know, whether it's hateful crimes
Yeah.
or
I mean,
or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you still had a like it was a safer place, but it still wasn't safe, right?
exactly, right.
But even then, when you look at it, people knew that like that was a place to go if you wanted to meet other gay people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why the killer was targeting San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, exactly as you said, San Francisco at that time was a safe city to be in and be out, as safe as one could be, right?
during those
Societally
times,
speaking.
Yeah.
But it wasn't perfectly safe. There was prejudice abound, even in the local police, right?
Yeah.
It's a fact of the matter, right? And what kind of made this all the more frustrating looking back is that this was during a time where the Zodiac Killer was active, messaging the police, messaging newspapers, sending letters.
Taunting and
During this window, you also have a different case that we haven't covered, known as the Zebra Murders. It was the same month that the Doodler killed his first victim that the Zebra Killers started back up again. Maybe that's a case that we'll cover in a future episode, but you know, we talked about the Zodiac Killer. So the fact that all of these crimes were happening focused in this area during this time window, you know, made it hard to really identify, was this a separate person, a separate crime spree, or was this part of those? Or were these a bunch of like individual acts that all kind of got muddied in the water? It's just
yeah.
when a lot of crime is going down, it can be hard.
I wonder like how confusing or not confusing it could be to the authorities and people investigating murder cases if you start switching up your MO. Or if you don't have one, right?
Or if you don't have one, if it's
right?
random.
If it's just random, sometimes it's just different for every person. Sometimes you steal their
Absolutely.
ID, sometimes you cut off a pinky, sometimes a gun, a knife,
Right,
etc.
right. It is interesting. You know, I mean, not that most killers or any killer would be thinking with their right mind, but it is interesting, right? That and perhaps in a very dark way, kind of lucky that these victims were so similar, because it wasn't until deep into the investigation that police identified, okay, these are all gay white men who are passing away from similar injuries, right? Knife wounds.
Yep.
And they're all attacked.
IDs taken. And,
Exactly.
yeah.
And the police kind of classified these particular victims as victims of rage killings. And so, yes, very dark, but it is, like you're saying, this person could have had a randomized MO, which would make this all the more impossible to get to the bottom of. So in a way...
You almost think, too, that like it's not going to be random because in some sick sense of thought, a lot of like serial killers, you see that they want to be like known.
Yeah, like they
right?
want like their
like they
thing,
want their
their
little signature on
yeah.
it, and like that's insane to me.
Oh yeah. Now, like I mentioned, media coverage, investigation, like depth, was all kind of we were struggling to get that going right at the time. And it wasn't until 6 months after Goldberg's body was discovered that the San Francisco Chronicle finally covered the case on the front page. There had been murders of other gay men, so police first thought that they were dealing with multiple killers or other specific killers. But after many failed leads, they realized that there must be one killer for these cases, particularly because there were survivors that they got to know and got to talk to. And from those survivors, they gleaned more information, not only regarding the MO, but the identity of this person.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Because then, if the body was like an Ocean Beach, Golden Gate Park, Lincoln Park too as well, you would think in my mind already, I was like, okay, this person is like talking, interacting, gaining trust, then going to these locations, with another person in order to kill them.
Right.
But if there's witnesses, like, I don't think he was killing and then trying to move the bodies. It's just so much work, so much spreading of evidence.
Yeah.
So
seems like they got to know them, lured them into a place that would make sense,
and then
right?
they're just
whatever their narrative was.
I'm very interested to see how
private place, and
the
then
survivors survived,
right,
and information, because to me, in my mind, they have spent a good amount of time face to face with this person.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of those failed attempts. As you can imagine, just given, like we've already covered the societal pressures and everything of gay men at the time, these people kind of have code names because they didn't want to be outed publicly, nor did they want to out other people. But this also will crop back up later, so I'll kind of put a pin in that. But the first known person to come forward with a failed attempt in a story was only known as the European Diplomat. They had an encounter with the Doodler at a bar called the Truck Stop in July of 1975. This is right when you were saying that they were picking up speed or steam or momentum or what have you, like that, it seemed that crimes were getting a little closer to each other. And so maybe this played a part in them taking a step back. So per their story, they said that the Doodler approached them, the Diplomat, with sketches of animals and caricatures, and that the two went to the Diplomat's apartment. He told the Diplomat that he was actually a cartoonist, and this, as I mentioned, and as you guessed, is how he got the nickname the Doodler, because the police started to believe that this is likely how he lured people in, talking about his sketches and just being open about himself and his hobby.
Interesting.
Tell me, what would you do,
Well, because in my mind, I picture the Doodler just in the club, right, in San Francisco, and then like walking up and like at someone like at the bar grabbing a drink, hey, I drew this duck, you like it?
Here, I'll get the beats going.
Hey, what's up? I drew this duck. Want a drink? Like what is
right?
I don't like. How do you approach someone with like doodles and like?
It's interesting. So I think what you do is like, you find a club that's got the and you got the dances and you got the like the booths on the side, somewhere you can sprawl out, draw out, but then head to the bar. Someone's getting a drink.
You're there, papers spread out.
Paper spread. You're trying to cop some eyes. Like, oh, what are you drawing?
Make it very easy for someone to come in and be like, oh, hey, what you drawing?
It's an easy icebreaker.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I mean, I don't know. It's avant-garde to say the least, but I mean, clearly it broke the ice for.
Like, you put your guard down. You just have someone that's just like drawing a bunch of stuff, and you think to yourself like, oh, this person's just chill, relax, and doing their own thing. I approached. Oh, that's the thought. I approached them.
Right.
So chances are they're not.
If the Doodler's approaching people, that's what happened here. The Doodler approached, right?
Oh, okay.
Let the guard down with the doodles. But you're right. I mean, if any of these victims came forward and it was the other way around, your guard is much more lowered because you feel comfortable. You're the one breaking that ice by making the conversation. Hey, what are you drawing? What's going on here, right? But yeah, so they went back to the Diplomat's apartment, and the Doodler goes into the restroom to whatever, maybe just use the restroom, maybe collect themselves before they do a crime, what have you. But afterwards came out of the restroom. He then attacked the Diplomat by stabbing him in the back with a knife. He attempted to spin the Diplomat around to be face to face. The knife broke, and the Doodler then fled.
What are the chances?
Right.
The knife broke?
The knife broke, and the Doodler booked it. Now, the Diplomat, when recalling the story, remembers the Doodler having said, quote, "You guys are all alike." Just kind of in the scuffle of it all.
The interesting thing here is that there hasn't been any type of like physical or sexual contact.
No, right.
Yeah, so this could be, just someone that is not fond of people that are gay,
Right.
As opposed to, because I was waiting to see if it was someone that was gay attacking other gay people, but this so far it just seems like he's just trying to lure gay men over.
Right.
I can't, but like, wouldn't you know their face at that point?
Well, you would, right? I mean, so the trouble is now confidently connect these failed attempts back to the original cases or the original victims
Yes.
to provide enough tangible or connective tissue, right? To be like, this is the person. So like either way, they're like, okay, you know what you experienced for your potential crime, your attack.
Right.
So we can note that down. Can we apply that back to these other victims? That's yet to be kind of figured out. But the confidence is building, right? The police are saying, okay, this is a similar method of attack. It seems that there is a homophobic intent here. And so they start kind of building up the idea, okay, we might have some people who survived this attack. And so there are two more people that I want to talk about, and that'll kind of help build the connection between the victims here as well as the survivors to say, yeah, same person. So just days later, the doodler returned to the same apartment complex on the same floor and got into another man's apartment by asking to use the telephone. This is wild to me.
Hell no.
Not only comes back to the diplomat's apartment, goes to the same floor, goes to some neighbor on that floor, and then gets into their apartment saying, hey, can I use your telephone?
What?
He tied this man up.
Also, hell no, you ain't using my phone.
No, you're not using my landline. There's plenty of payphones on the way that you walked here. You know what I mean? Take my sugar, take my butter, get an egg, and get the hell out.
Yeah.
You're not using my landline. So he got into this man's apartment, tied him up, but thankfully neighbors overheard everything going down as the man was screaming, asking for help. And when they came to help, it turns out that the doodler had escaped prior to them being able to get there in time. So
You just ran out.
It's-
There's a lot of fire escapes and balconies.
Certainly.
So
thankfully it stopped what could have been another victim, but unfortunately the neighbors were not able to make it in time to catch the person in the act, see who this was.
yeah. Damn it! But then, wouldn't that person see his face?
They did. But again,
Right. How do you tie it back to
how you tie
everything
it back,
else?
you want to make sure that there's confidence here. But the fact is, like, we know for a fact that this is the same person who came for both survivors now.
Yes. I
You
mean,
know, that's
either
a
way,
fact.
tie this person up, get him out of there, get him off the streets.
Absolutely. Now, it seemed that the doodler repeated the same thing he said when he attacked the diplomat, right? Saying something along the lines of, all you guys are the same or all alike, right?
How would he have known that that person was gay?
That's a good question. I wouldn't. Christian, do we know? I mean, was this man out? Did he?
Not from. We couldn't find anything that like concretely said anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could have knocked and then saw that there was the pride flag or a number of things to kind of like
Sure, to tip your head.
tip your head in that direction. But that's just like, boy, it's just random luck.
Yeah. So either
Even
way,
if-
though, it's said that the person that attacked him and tied him up said similar things, similar aggro lines to basically confirm that, yes, this is the same person we're dealing with. Now, the third survivor I want to talk about was actually a pretty well-known actor. They were, again, anonymous, but this is an unknown timeline. This was sometime, at least when researching this case, it seems that it happened somewhere during the timeline of the other victims that we talked about. So the doodler went to the home of this anonymous well-known actor, and at the actor's home, a knife fell from the doodler's sleeve. How they ended up in the house, what their excuse was for being there, or how they were let in, we don't know.
Yeah.
Or at least not in the research that we did. But suffice to say, a knife fell from the doodler's sleeve, and the actor was able to see that and book it the heck out of there. So all three survivors were able to provide a description, as you're asking for, of the doodler, and they described him as a young, probably somewhere in his early 20s, young man, African American. He was thin with long limbs, a narrow face, and high cheekbones. And based on this description, police were able to produce a forensic sketch of the doodler. This drawing led to a witness actually calling the police in order to provide them with information on a man who fit the description and actually visited the Tenderloin, a club, offering to draw other patrons while carrying a butcher knife in January of 1976. So this is yet another year later, right? This is after all the confirmed victims that we talked about. It's
Right.
the top of the year, 1976. This guy calls in. He goes, yo, I saw this person at this club asking to draw people, and he was also brandishing a knife. And so now we know factually this guy's out there still trying to do this. We have a trail to follow.
Well, like,
But we're still in unsolved
Why?
territory, right?
why? A knife?
Why he's got a knife?
Like, why is he in a bar?
Yeah, he's back in the bar scene, drawing people up.
But with a knife out in the open?
See, that's where I don't know. I just know that this person's saying they had a butcher knife. I'm sure he wasn't just openly going like, hey, who wants to get their
Yeah.
picture drawn? But like maybe it's like it slipped or showed, or maybe just like, hey, I saw him pull it out of his bag. and
Look,
put it
not that
back,
I
like-
condone what this person's doing, but like, how many times is your knife gonna just
right,
flop out?
or break, or something.
Yeah, you get like cheap knives, and on top of that, they're falling off like your person all
right.
the time.
Like people are coming forward saying, I've seen you. I know you have a knife. I'm talking to the police right now. Now, despite the knowledge, okay, we have a drawing of this person. We have an eyewitness after all of these victims saying he's out here doing his whole MO thing right now. Like, I've seen him. You should stake out this place. Despite all of that, these victims refuse to take the stand and testify, obviously because of the societal pressure
of
being gay. Right? And so
I get it.
they-
But damn it, that's why.
right. It's tough,
Seems
man.
like-
It really is. Like, they don't want to out themselves. They don't want to publicly out other people.
Yeah, it just seems like we got this person like on lock. You know what I
Right.
mean?
But yeah, I mean, officers stated that they strongly believe that the man in question was responsible for the crimes, basically saying that these three survivors probably, almost definitely, I should say, had a run-in with the same person that they had been looking for the other victims that we talked about. But ultimately, this individual, this doodler, was never tried or convicted due to the survivor's refusal to appear in court, which, just gets in the way of providing strong evidence, right? It is worth mentioning that the politician and activist Harvey Milk, there's a whole film about this guy. If you don't know much about him, I've heard it's an amazing film. But he expressed empathy towards the victims who refused to speak with the police because he actually said, quote, I understand their position. I respect the pressure society has put on them. And in case you don't, I don't know much about Harvey Milk. I won't pretend to know, but I know, Christian, you can fact check me just in case, but he was a gay man out and as a politician. It was a big thing at the time. And so he publicly is saying that hey, I understand the pressure in place here. Like, we shouldn't vilify these guys just because they don't want to, testify, right? But it's very complicated.
Yeah, Harvey Milk was in San Francisco. He was a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and he was the first openly gay man to be elected to public office in California.
Yeah, and I think the movie Milk is all about that. But ultimately, for unknown reasons, the Doodler murders, at least as we have seen them and understand them, ended in 1975. Personally, I would due to it being to the fact that he knows, or they know, that their identity is known, because there are sketches of them,
Yeah.
there are people telling stories of them, and the only thing preventing them from going to prison is these men not coming forward and telling their story. So that's my guess as to why these crimes stopped, because remember, somebody saw somebody of this likeness and of this MO at the beginning of 1976 potentially attempting to do the same thing. So it almost seemed like maybe they gave up, or maybe they just decided to move away from this, or maybe they dropped their MO and became more random. It's hard to say, but that's all we know about the crimes, at least up until we get into the recent updates.
Damn.
Yeah.
We
To get-
had him.
To get so close, right?
We had him.
It sucks. Hey, everybody. Trevor here, as always, with some housekeeping notes regarding Red Web. We're doing well. Take your temperatures, everybody. Hope you're doing well as well. But hey, I have some exciting news for all of you mystery, macabre lovers. We have within our family of podcasts another kind of eerie, dark, potentially sinister podcast that is launching called 30 Morbid Minutes. It's hosted by two friends of mine, Jessica Fasami and Elise Willems, and they are phenomenal, hilarious individuals, and they talk about, if you're listening to this podcast, you're going to like it. They talk about the dark, macabre stuff throughout history all the way up to today. They talk about things like sleep paralysis demons. They talk about the Victorian era obsession with death and superstition. They talk about the history of Ouija boards. They go into all sorts of stuff that I think you're really going to like. And they also sprinkle in their own style of humor. So again, if you really like what we do on Red Web, I think you're really going to enjoy 30 Morbid Minutes. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. They just launched, so please go subscribe. Give them some support. Show them the love. They are on Rooster Teeth as we are, but they are also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. They are available. So give them some love. Really appreciate those gals. With that said, I want to talk about some of today's fantastic sponsors. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip all those annoying trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking fun, easy, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh's chefs really know how to diversify the menu with seasonal recipes like salmon limon and pasta primavera, but you could pick your favorite from 50 different weekly options and skip weeks when you don't need to. Maybe you're not going to be home, maybe you're working a little bit, maybe you want to make your own stuff, whatever. You can pick your own recipes because you can park and come back to HelloFresh whenever you want. You can change your delivery dates, you can update your preferences on the app. Very easy to use. I've used HelloFresh for quite some time now. The dishes are phenomenal. They always make you feel like you're educated and know what you're doing in the kitchen because they make it really easy. But more important than that, they make them really tasty. Because they're fresh, they're sent right to your door. You know that you're getting good quality ingredients. And when you cook them up, by the way, they have pictures to walk you through it. When you cook it up, it always tastes phenomenal. Even me with a picky little palate, I know I'm going to get something fresh, get something tasty. So go to HelloFresh.com/RedWeb16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 gifts. That's up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts by going to HelloFresh.com/RedWeb16 and use code RedWeb16. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. This episode is also sponsored by The Jordan Harbinger Show. The Jordan Harbinger Show is absolutely worth checking out. He interviews people with fascinating stories and specialized knowledge. We're talking North Korean defectors, actual spies, even FBI interrogators. So some really juicy, hard-hitting interviews here. And the show also covers topics far beyond just those. Jordan's archives include technology stories like deepfakes, telepathy, and preventing a superbug epidemic. He's even done episodes in all kinds of experimental psych topics. Jordan's a great interviewer who's able to pull amazing insights out of his guests, and they're both entertaining and informative at the same time. It's phenomenal. Check out jordanharbinger.com/start for some episode recommendations or search The Jordan Harbinger Show. That's HARB as in boy, IN as in Nancy, GER on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And with that said, let's get right back into the mystery. But let's talk about some of those recent updates because in 2018, the Doodler case was reopened by investigator Dan Cunningham. In 2019, an updated aged forensic drawing was released, basically to say like what this drawing would look like in modern times, right? It's been math, 40 to 50 years, right? Since this person was active. So they updated an aged forensic drawing and they released that as well as the recording of the 911 call that led to the discovery of the Doodler's first victim, Kavanaugh. In reopening this, they really wanted to contact the anonymous caller that called 911. But one of the complications with this case is given the time frame, it is entirely possible that some of the survivors, anonymous witnesses, the criminal themselves could all have passed away naturally, and so we wouldn't be able to reach out to them to get more information. Or perhaps, you know, whoever these anonymous individuals are, they might not want to be found in the first place, right?
Yeah. At this point, they've moved on with their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in reopening this case, the police also began offering a $100,000 reward for any information regarding the Doodler.
$100,000 reward.
For any information. But then, January of 2022, and today I'm going to date this podcast, that was literally just 2 months ago, investigators discovered another possible victim of the Doodler. A victim from April 27th of 1975, a man by the name of Warren Andrews, who was attacked and found unconscious at Land's End, north of Ocean Beach. Now, this person wasn't identified as another Doodler victim just due to the nature of this particular crime. It's a little different. So Andrews was a 52-year-old lawyer for the U.S. Postal Service. He never regained consciousness after the initial attack and later died in the hospital. The method of this murder was much different than those prior, which led police to believe that perhaps this murder was unrelated, at least at the time, that's what they thought.
Right.
But looking back, they thought, well, while Andrews was injured in a different way, Cunningham, the investigator that opened the case again, believes that perhaps the doodler, due to his location, the time period, etc., like maybe this was just a different way to attack them, or maybe they fumbled the knife, which seems to keep happening, and instead might have pivoted to strangle Andrews because he lost his knife. These are just the modern assumptions of that case. But what did help kind of bring him into the MO and bring him under the idea that this might be a doodler victim was the fact that it was yet another gay white man. So it was also around this time in January of 2022 that they increased the reward for information to $200,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Accommodating for inflation.
It sounds like.
Whoa.
But yeah, so ultimately, now this is...
Yeah, because he'd still be alive.
Potentially, yes.
Potentially, yeah.
If he was in his early 20s, in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
That would be, late 60s now-ish. Maybe pushing 70. So it depends, right?
I mean, we're so many episodes in, and I've just come to realize, there are a handful of killers that have gotten away with stuff, and
Oh my gosh,
a
lot. Yeah.
There's a lot, and they're just living their lives.
Right. They could
Right?
be one of those dudes in the Tommy Bahama shirt and on the keys that you walk by, and you're just like,
exactly.
that's an overly tanned man. But no.
That was very descriptive.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
real specific.
Hey, I think we all have a memory of hitting the beach, and there's a man in a Tommy Bahama shirt kicking it in his flops, and he's got a little bit too much of a tan going on. Like, I think you all know what I'm talking
A
about.
little bit too much of a tan.
Yeah, Christian gave me the single nod. Yeah.
I think that was a nod of okay,
Move on.
whatever you say, Trevor.
saying.
Just like the owls, Trevor.
This man, okay, sunburned. Let's just put it sunburned.
But yeah, that's just a scary thought.
Yeah. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting episode because, and I want to be very respectful of this information because this is a reopened case, task force. Don't feel the need to go jumping on this, but I do want to put it in here for posterity, as with every case that is ongoing or that is something that you can get involved with in some way. I ask that you proceed with respect if you have any information. But there is an anonymous tip hotline with the SFPD that they are still seeking information. The phone number is 415-575-4444. You can also text a tip to TIP 411 if you have anything. There's also a Doodler podcast presented by the San Francisco Chronicle, and that's at www.thedoodlerpod.com. So if you have any information, task force, just by happenstance, if you know anything about this or anecdotally or otherwise, that is your way to help.
This person's just walking into bars, doodling, fumbling knives left and right.
Right.
And has attempted to kill people and has tied up people, just staring at them dead in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Got away with it.
And got away with it. That's like...
That blows my mind.
I mean, with it, like you said, there's a lot of people that have gotten away with heavy crimes like this, and it never gets easier to talk about.
No,
right? It's
but
just
a lot
always
of
so
that's
frustrating.
There was a murder, or they were attacked in a dark alley. This person's just meeting people at bars and then having 20, 30 hours worth of conversations face to face, and then murders or attempts to murder and still got away with it. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So moving on, let's talk about some of the theories behind this person and the potential motive, as well as the potential identity. Now, as you would think that there would be some names in the theories, much like we did with the Zodiac Killer case,
Right.
etc., there are no names here, so to speak. I think one of them is a factual person, but they're also going to kind of have a code name just due to the possibility that they aren't. Anyway, I'll
Right, they
stop
could
burying
be-
the lead. I'll
they-
dive in. So
Could be innocent.
yeah. So one of the theories is that this was a group of people, simply enough, that this was a group of individuals, regardless of their motive, that did these crimes.
But I guess a group of people that went and did these crimes individually.
Whether individually or as an organized group, that would kind of be up for...
No, in the sense of even if it was an organized group,
Uh-huh.
they would go on these.
Oh yes, that it wouldn't be a group committing these
right,
crimes.
exactly.
It would be one individual,
one person
yeah.
at a time. Committing
Yes.
these- yeah.
So that is one theory. I'm not sure, with all the information I know, that would be the most likely, but it is worth mentioning. The next theory, again, doesn't specifically talk about an identity, but rather addresses the potential motivation behind why they were attacking gay white men in this neighborhood,
what
right?
the hell?
So this theory kind of talks about this being that the killer is a closeted gay man, right? And I do want to just another trigger warning for any LGBT members out there who this is some potentially heavy subject matter, right? So some believe that the doodler was a closeted gay man. They believe that he was unhappy with his homosexuality and took out his anger on other gay men.
Yeah.
It's possible, right? It's really hard to kind of guess either way, right? But this is a popular theory.
I mean that is the thing. As
Mhm.
someone who has like grown up, you know, like in the culture and has had family members and has lived like, you know, in the thick of the Castro. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't harp on it enough, right? Like the mid 70s, it was just, I mean, even before the 70s, but right now in the
And
moment,
then you felt the pressure
You felt the
from
pressure.
like society, and so
there's
that-
crimes happening around your demographic.
Yeah,
There is a societal pressure.
yeah,
And here, just like another thought here on this particular theory is that a lot of people do believe that this is a little bit dismissive and that the doodler was simply taking an advantage of these folks, right? Like of gay men in this area being underprotected by the police, being hidden and obscured by this societal
I hate
pressure.
The thought of that.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe that they
Yeah.
knew that these people would not want to come forward to say something because what that would mean for them and their peers, right?
Yeah, you look at it, you look at the gay community as an easier target because of the pressures and the amount of things that community, you know, faced and is still facing to this very day. And so it's a lot different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's grimy as hell.
It's very grimy. And the thing is, I don't want to try to go off the rails on this one. I don't want to try to make any assumptions. You know, we try to imbibe our thoughts into the show. Now, with something like this, it is or it isn't, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't want, like, I can't speak to a lifestyle that I am unfamiliar with, and
Yeah.
but either way, like, grimy,
Yeah.
either way. But that leads us to the next theory, which is definitely a person, but for the sake of their anonymity,
Right.
because again, it could be
mean-
someone innocent.
Yep.
This person is referred to as the patient. Now, the reason why this comes up.
Interesting.
So in 1977, there was a San Francisco psychiatrist who reported to the police that his patient confessed to the Doodler killings. His patient was struggling, he says, with his homosexuality and claimed that he took his feelings out on these victims as a result. So this kind of dovetails nicely with some of what people are thinking in the previous theory, the more
Yeah.
general theory.
What year was this?
This was in 1977.
Ooh.
So just on the heels of all of
Damn,
this,
that
right?
bears more weight to it in my mind,
Yeah.
because we have done a ton of episodes where people are like, look, I was on the other side of the planet, but I did these murders. And it's like, why?
Right,
I don't,
right.
what? Okay. But this person is not only confessing to the murders, but confessing to their sexuality during a time where it was difficult to do so.
And saying that that was the motivation.
Yeah.
That was the pressure that drove me to do the crime, right?
Right. And so they're submitting themselves to kind of like the two lanes of one being a murderer and two being gay.
Yeah. And on top of that, the patient was a quiet, smart type, but most notably, they studied art.
Mm.
And that's something, I mean, you can't really just be like, suddenly I whip up an art degree. I mean, this person had a track record of studying art, and that provides some more possibilities here with connecting them to the doodling part of this job, especially if you're doodling in the club and you're looking for an icebreaker, if you're quiet, right? Like
The like victims not have the ones that survive not have like a doodle of themselves somewhere, like
to compare styles.
Yeah, because you would think that like if this person is like luring men in to, you know, go back to their apartment, right? Because you think that like if you're doodling, you might draw a little something for them, or
Right.
But I mean, I guess they don't. That's just leaving evidence behind. Because
Yeah, that's true. Like,
you
here's
can
my calling
analyze-
card,
Right,
essentially.
exactly.
As with every unsolved true crime case, the difficulty becomes the conviction. And that's the frustrating part, right? So the police didn't have enough evidence to convict the patient. There just wasn't enough to go off of. Now, which is interesting, it's kind of counter to a lot of stories you hear nowadays where a lot of true crime situations are resolved, rightfully or wrongfully, purely
Yeah.
because they got someone to admit it, right?
Yep.
All they need now is someone to confess. And they're like, got
I
it,
did it.
done.
They're like,
Put 'em
closed,
in jail.
shut case.
Right. So I don't know what that says about the due process then versus now or what have you, and I'm not going to get into that, but this person's coming forward. They're saying that they did it. Yes, they are seeing a psychiatrist. There could be, other elements in play that we're not
Right.
knowing about that could kind of shake the
Like
foundations.
patient confidentialities. And
There's
stuff like
definitely that.
Like,
Yeah. But either way, or was the confession made in the correct state of mind? What was the nature of the confession? All of these other more complicated human factors, right? But ultimately, just to cut to the chase, the police didn't have enough evidence to convict. And again, this kind of harkens back to the survivors being unwilling to testify. So even if the patient was the person, you talk about, will those other folks be able to come forward and identify the doodles as the same style? No, simply enough. The survivors didn't want to testify in any way, and I understand that, right?
damn. Oh.
Yeah. So the patient walks free, and some, including investigator Cunningham, suspect crimes in different areas around the country to also be attributed to the doodler. Now, I don't know what that says about the patient being here in San Francisco in 1977. I don't think it obscures them from any blame or anything. Or frees them entirely. But if there were other potential doodler cases around the nation, it could draw this person's confession into question, right?
Yeah, I mean, but then you can go back to one of the theories being that it was a group of people. Also, you have copycats, right? I mean, the MO, very simple.
Right.
It wasn't like the MO was to take out a kidney or anything like that. Not everyone can do that, right? It's to have a knife and to draw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could have been drawing stick figures for all we know.
To be clumsy with a knife
Yeah.
and to draw.
Yeah, to be really clumsy with a knife and to draw.
Yeah.
Have really cheap knives as well.
Well, to end this on one more frustrating bombshell, as we do.
No, don't
You
do
know
it.
there's a reason why it's
No.
unsolved, baby.
Come on. There's so many reasons why it's unsolved.
So, the police who reopened this case were very much hoping to identify the psychiatrist in order to talk to them, to see if they could give any more information regarding their client, anything that they could tell us about the patient, etc. Now, the identity of the doctor, any information regarding who this psychiatrist was, how to find them, etc., has all been somehow lost. So there you have it. We have a psychiatrist who has a patient who confessed to the crime. We have a reopened case
What do
in
you mean
2018.
lost?
We have so many connective elements that we could definitely look into, but for some reason, somehow, some way,
You mean
a lot of
lost?
this is just lost. How do you lose the name of the doctor who had a confessing patient? I don't know.
That's like on the front page of your notes on this.
That's
How
the
do
name
you
of the
lo-
case. Dr. Whataburger.
I thought you were going to say the doctor passed away. I'd be Jack.
I mean-
doctor.
Buffle doctor. That's the thing. The doctor could have passed away, right? Again, coming back to the time period, it's been enough time now.
Yeah.
But
But
we don't know.
The fact is that we just don't know the name of the doctor.
yeah, bada boom.
Oh man, I don't know if you like send out of like, hey, I don't even know. Like, how do you
How
reach
even
that?
start? How do you begin?
Where do you start? How do you even reach that person?
I imagine that there was someone whose whole job it has been, probably Inspector Cunningham here, if that's his right title, from 2018, is just rifling through Manilas,
Yeah.
The filing cabinets open, slam, close. I just see a montage in my head, single bulb swinging above him as he's like reading over all these redacted files, just looking for a crumb, a piece of evidence to
Not
find
even
out who the hell was this doctor. That's a whole other mystery now.
Yeah. Not even a cool montage too.
No.
There's a montage of going through filing cabinets.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, like a well-lit one, too. Not even, like, dramatic.
Yeah, no
many
dramatic
lights.
lighting.
No
It's
shadows, just
literally
well-filled.
a well-lit filing cabinet back room.
Dang. Like a scene out of Spider-Man Far From Home. Just no way home, even. It's
There's
just...
no way. There's no way home.
Anyway, that has been the Doodler case. If anybody in the task force out there does have information, I've provided you the way to get in contact with the SFPD. I'd be very interested to know if you have information.
You frustrate me, Trevor.
Well, hey, I
All
didn't
of
do
you.
this.
All of you in this room, you frustrate me.
You need to talk to the SFPD in the 1970s. That's who you need to at.
Oh, I need to talk to Christian as to why he's having a smirk on his face.
Christian, why are you smirking?
This man is sapping my life
I
force.
think I know why he's smirking.
Because of the frustration that I'm feeling right now.
He knows. He knows we're under attack. We're under a review attack by one of our sister podcasts.
That's what I heard. I heard Jamface is coming.
Yeah, don't
is
even say their
coming
name
for
right.
us.
Don't give them that.
Don't even say it right. The Jammers apparently are trying to rise up and
They heard the good news about our
challenge
reviews, dude.
our reviews.
Yeah.
Right?
They
Last
heard we
time,
were top reviewed in numbers and
top
average.
reviewed. Trevor said we were top reviewed. And I said, that's awesome. Bad news. The higher up said if we don't get 30 5-star ratings by the end of the week, you're shutting down the task force. Guess what? Task force is still alive. Thank you guys for
Thank
those
you.
5-star reviews. But now the Space Jammers, whatever the hell their names are challenging our supremacy.
We got
and-
Michael and Jordan on
and
the team here.
Spotify reviews. This is ridiculous.
Spotify specifically, they're coming for our Spotify reviews for some reason.
And you know what, Jamface?
He's got him on the phone. They don't.
Whoa! Yeah, that's right.
Did this
the Red Web Task Force is ready,
How
baby.
did you have that?
Don't you dare challenge us
How
in
did
the
you-
arena of
That's so
reviews.
How did he have that on his
All
phone
right?
already?
I'm ready. You think the task force ain't strapped? Huh?
I thought this man unlatched
Huh?
a drawer.
I thought he was calling
you
someone.
you dare challenge us with your greasy reviews?
Damn.
Not today.
It's a fight between Task Force and the Jammers, dude.
Our high rating on Spotify will reign supreme.
As long as the Task Force comes out in droves
The
to
task
support.
force is there.
Oh, they're
Everyone
the hive
right
mind
now,
is ready.
that's listening. All
Uh-huh.
right, you have a group of
I can hear him typing away.
VIPs, a group of VIPs in the task force right now that are just like, yeah, I already gave my review. And then the ones that aren't, the ones that have it playing in the backyard as they're grilling, you know what they're doing right now?
Sizzling and flipping those burgers, dude.
Hell
Making
no.
sure they're well
The
done.
burgers are being burnt. Why? Because they're going, oh my God, oh my God,
Oh my God, they're running away.
The task force needs me. Kids, get out the way. Boom, shoves her kids onto the floor, jumps on the computer.
Spotify.com
/ Red Web Pod. Review. 5 stars. Die, Space Jammers. We've survived another day, task force.
Meanwhile, his smoke alarm's going off because his fuming fire in the backyard.
Dude, task
Worth
force
it.
members across the nation.
First of all, Task Force, I got to be honest, we need to work on our cardio a little bit. Okay? I don't.
Oh, no, it's not
This
the same
man
as
ran
the
upstairs and he sounds like he ran a marathon.
No way. I'm just saying the sense of urgency. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying the sense of lack of cardio. I'm just, all I'm saying is just the urgency. Christian, they need me.
Hey, just make sure that the Jammers know it. Type exasperated like that too. Just like, let me hear those breaths in your typing.
Yeah, in
you
the
know?
reviews. 5 stars.
I've only found out. I've only just found out.
I've only just found out. Oh my God.
Full on Jam versus Web Pod. Wait, hold on. Let me walk it back. We got a full on Jam versus Web war.
Yes.
The Pod Wars are on.
Bad wars.
Damn. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Truly, though, the reviews really do help us out. I mean, in an algorithmic world, that is the #1 way to help boost us into the eyes of many other future task force members. You can share us. It's another way to do it, but reviews help the podcast out a lot. Thank you for keeping us up top. It really does mean a lot, but the war is truly on. We're coming for you. Base Jam. They had a long and impassioned speech. Ours is a lot more threatening. I think it's because we're on the heels of a true crime episode.
Yeah.
But you know what? Click them and clack them.
Get out of here.
It just sounds like you're like latching a door, dude. That does not sound threatening. It sounds like a Nerf gun. It sounds like you just pulled back on a plastic sheriff's gun. You know, like I'm gonna
That's what
pop
I
you
want
with a
them to
sucker's
think.
dart.
Unthreatening, but really, I'm strapped.
It comes through so clean on the audio.
Yeah, it does. Look, just task force.
He is
task
cuddling the mic right now.
task force. It's just you and me right now in this moment. There's no Christian. There's no Trevor. But if you can take just a second out of your time to drop the weight in the beaker, take off the lab coat, sit down in your velvet chair, your easy boy recliner that's been assigned to you, your desk, your computer with 5 4K 3060 hertz monitors, and leave that sultry 5-star review. I'd love you forever.
All right, we're back.
Hey, I'm sorry about that, but thank you all. Anyway,
I don't know what happened.
Fredo, I'll see you right back here next Monday for another mystery. But Task Force, again, thank you for turning out, keeping us above those paranoid jammers.
Do you ever find yourself awake in the middle of the night reading real-life stories that make your skin crawl?
Uh-huh.
Medieval torture devices?
Yeah,
What about grave robbers?
that too. If you've ever wondered, hey, what the heck exactly is necrocannibalism? Well, it's a little weird to ask that, but don't worry, because 30 Morbid Minutes is the new podcast that seeks to answer this question and more.
Each episode takes a deep dive into topics, people, and places of a morbid, macabre, and downright grisly nature, all pulled from history and the headlines of today.
30 Morbid Minutes is hosted by me, Elise Willems.
And me, Jessica Vasami.
We're here to ask questions and learn more about the world around us through, admittedly, a somewhat disturbing lens.
Subscribe and listen to 30 Morbid Minutes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, you twisted individual.
You're a real sicko.
The following episode of How Did This Get Made is sponsored by LegalZoom. They're helping keep the show free. If you go to LegalZoom.com and enter the code EARWOLF, you'll get a discount, and 100% of what you spend there comes directly back to the show. LegalZoom is the best place to help with your legal needs. They're not a law firm, but they provide self-help services at your direction. For more information on how to support this show and the rest of the Earwolf Podcast Network, go to earwolf.com/insider.
Now it's time for How Did This Get Made? We're gonna have a good time, celebrate some failure, not just be a hater, cause you know you wonder, how did this get made? Let's wallow in the mediocrity of subpar art. Perhaps we'll find the answer to the question, how did this get made?
Hello, people of Earth. Welcome to the very first episode of How Did This Get Made? I am Paul Scheer. You might know me as Andre on The League, or from Human Giant. I was the black midget who did skateboard tricks. Now, there is one thing that you may not know about me, and that is I love shitty, crappy movies. The Room, seen it. Last Airbender, bought a ticket. Crank 2, own it on DVD and Blu-ray. So each episode of this podcast will be trying to make sense of the movies that make no sense. And we're not saying that we're better than anyone involved in these movies. We're just saying that this shit needs to be discussed. And holy shit, we have a awesome movie to talk to you about today. It's a Christina Aguilera Cher holiday showstopper, Burlesque. And if you guys went out and saw this movie like we told you to, I apologize. Okay, because Burlesque is kind of like Moulin Rouge for really dumb people. It's like Showgirls was butt-fucked by Moulin Rouge, and then it sharded, and it created Burlesque. If you don't know, Burlesque is a story of a young girl with a dream to be a dancer, but then she finds out her real talent is to be a singer. Anyway, she moves to Hollywood, and that's when things get really interesting. And I use that term relatively. Here's a clip of some of the dialogue from this film.
Hold on a second. I can do this.
And I think that it's sweet that you think you can.
Just tell me what you're looking for.
I'm looking for someone who can do the routine. You're gonna make me believe that you belong up there. You want to show me something? Show me that.
2 hours of that. So to help me make sense, I am joined by two people who love bad movies as much as I do. Jason Mantzoukas and June Diane Raphael. Jason, of course, played Rafi on The League. June, you've seen her in Year One. And we have a very special guest. Each week we'll have a special guest. And this week, our first guest, our specialist guest, Nick Kroll, also from The League. There you go. Thank you for being here, Nick.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, brother.
So let's just get right into it. Expectations met? Exceeded? What do you think, Jason?
I watched this movie at 10 o'clock this morning, and it literally blew my mind. I went in thinking, oh, this is going to be really garbage, and but I was also like, oh, but it's going to be fun. I'm going to have fun, and then I was instantly obsessed with how stupid it was.
It's amazing because it is PG-13 too, so they can't get too dark at any point.
I actually thought it was going to be a much more of a Chicago kind of musical.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be bigger and better. It was the shittiest looking. I feel like they shot everything. They were like, well, let's just point the camera in that direction and we'll make that the bedroom. And then this over here, everything, we just point the camera in this direction, it'll be the stage. Everything.
They were in that bedroom forever.
Constantly.
Well,
couldn't they have gone to a coffee shop?
Was it based on a play, though? It was based on a play.
I don't think so.
No.
If it was, that play needs to be erased from history. I have so much to talk about. Most importantly, Alan Cummings' performance.
Oh, Alan Cummings. I feel like...
why is he in that movie?
Why is he in it?
I feel like what might have happened is that he auditioned for the Stanley Tucci role.
Well-
or that he was up for it at one point. And they realized, we got to go with Stanley. It's not going to work out.
He already
But
has
then they
the
felt
glasses.
really badly. And... they felt like, we have this random character that has one line, and then he was just on set and was inserted into a gazillion shots. That's the only thing that makes sense to
Well,
me.
they told Tucci that this was Devil Wears Prada too.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was confused.
It is,
He was confused.
no joke. Stanley Tucci is playing the exact same character he was in Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
And
Without a
the
doubt.
same scenes, poking through a garment rack.
Exactly.
It was the same.
Hey, Alice. Welcome to Wonderland. Terrible lines. Terrible lines. Well, first of all, I feel like that was someone saw Cabaret and was like, oh, how cool would it be to have Alan Cumming in our movie? It's a tip of the hat.
Yep.
And if Joel Grey was still alive, I'm sure he'd be like, oh, let's pay $50 for a ticket to see this. Terrible.
Well, I actually went in with very high expectations. I was worried that this was going to be the first movie we were going to talk about because I told Paul I thought I would like it too much.
Really?
And I was worried. I was concerned.
You looked at me in the first minute and you were like...
I could not believe what was happening. I've never been in a movie where you are not located in any time, in any space. It was I had no idea what time period we were in.
It made
what
no
country we were in. I mean, it was
effort to help you.
Or what burlesque is.
Yes.
Well, see, that's why when you said, Paul, that the definition of you were defining the movie as a girl who wants to dance and then realizes she wants to sing. Is that even it? I don't even.
That's
where I think Showgirls as a model is perfect because Showgirls in a way is the better version of this movie. It is the grown-up version of this movie in every way, right? Showgirls is girl from the sticks running away from whatever comes to Las Vegas to become a showgirl. You see it. She conquers.
Yes.
She destroys Gina Gershon. She shows her tits to everybody. She has crazy pool sex. Her best friend gets raped by a Michael Bolton type
Which is
singer.
gonna happen.
Yeah, right as rain.
Every single element of
Spoiler
Showgirls
alert.
is crazy. This movie, we're meant to believe it's a burlesque club. That's normal. Right? We all understand what those are.
And there are tons of burlesque clubs
Yeah.
where people are paying upwards of $50 a ticket to see burlesque 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
7 nights a week?
And also, who's the customer?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, here's the
is it an ironic thing, or are people going?
All
no
I know
idea.
is, we have all lived in New York and LA, and I know that they're across the country. Burlesque is a phenomenon to an extent of a way for ugly girls to feel sexy. And so, I'm sorry, that's what it seems to be.
I have never seen a burlesque show like this. I have never seen
a burlesque. The whole point of burlesque is you strip to almost showing your nipples, and then to George Gershwin or some other clever song. There's some clever act to it, and then you go off stage having almost showed your nipples,
right?
And that's burlesque.
Sure.
From what I have
like
gathered,
the closest thing to what I perceive as burlesque that's in the movie is like the girls with hula hoops, like that kind of acrobatic act that takes place.
Not girls lip syncing.
Not girls lip syncing to like Etta James songs.
Well, wait, but my biggest concern was Cher is the queen of burlesque. Yet when she performs in this movie, all she does is stand. She doesn't even she doesn't strip. She doesn't dress sexy. She just stands or sings.
Well, and the other really confusing
her body will
thing.
fall off if she moves.
So that's what we've learned. I hate to. I'm so sorry.
I wonder if
Cher
can support her own weight.
It's out of control.
Well,
but the really confusing thing is that if the movie is about like this change in burlesque where people do start singing and that this is like a new thing, well then why was Cher singing in the first scene?
She's the only one who's allowed to sing, is what it says.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense because it's a burlesque club that Kristen Bell built with her. Because at one point, like, we built this club together.
Right, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that whole Kristen Bell storyline of like Nikki can do whatever she wants, like the one who's that Christina Aguilera is usurping basically, but it's never clear as to why she's that person or what she.
The movie is like
brings.
a Disney thing because like she usurps her, but then at the end it's like, come back in, you're actually pretty cool. Like it's like really, okay. Like,
well, they do that a ton of times, like raising stakes and then just pulling them out. Like that girl who got pregnant, it's like,
but he married her and he's very wealthy actually, and then a lovely wedding.
And
all right.
she continues to dance at the club through her pregnancy.
Doing crazy dances.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's go into our segment of the show. We have musical stings here. Let's see if any of these work. This is our what the fuck moment of the movie. Here we go. This is a little music sting that I picked out. So this is our what the fuck segment. This is a moment of the movie that was so mind-boggling that it has to be kind of just honed in a little bit. So, anyone want to start off on this? There's one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, there's one that really sticks out to me. The most offensive thing to me for a movie about female sexuality was the sex scene.
Oh, the sex scene was the worst.
That was the gayest thing I've ever. I mean, there were so many moments where it was like, okay, clearly a gay man wrote this and directed it. This is not sexy in any way. He came out first in footed pajamas, and then
closed the door,
and then came out
open it again.
In shirtless or half the pajamas, and then came out a third time with a hat over his dick. No, he had a hat.
No, he had the box of cookies.
The box of cookies.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He went naked through the apartment, then brought a box of Famous Amos cookies to the forefront. And it was like, you want some cookies?
So that was his like burlesque act, and it was disgusting.
He's not burlesque though.
Disgusting. How dare they? I mean, I just thought it was like unbelievably offensive and so unsexy, and also to set up the love interest as a gay man for the first 15 minutes of the movie. Like, I'm sorry.
I didn't think he was gay. Did you think he was gay?
I did not think he was gay.
Yeah.
But I also didn't because I was like, oh, that's the love interest. So there's no way he's gay.
Right.
He was giving her a shot.
Yes, so, but I felt like I deserve my money back just for that. For that sex scene.
Go ahead.
My what the fuck moment, I think, was when they told Christina Aguilera that she could wear a wig when she was wearing a wig the whole movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It was a real wiggy movie.
Yeah, that movie should literally be called Wigs, in my mind, because everybody... Kristen Bell's is wearing a wig, right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Cher is wearing a face wig and a body wig and a hair wig. And Aguilera's wearing that awful wig throughout the movie.
Like a yellow wig.
Yeah.
Cher can only, by the way, be shot in complete darkness, and someone has like a mag light standing 50 feet away, just like illuminating her face.
And her eye sockets are bottomless.
Oh my god! And then they highlight the bottomlessness with this like crazy glitter thing. She literally looks like she has disco eyeballs.
Oh,
and her face literally does not move. Her face,
it's really sad.
It's like her mouth hangs ajar, agape, and words come out of it, but it barely moves. Her lips barely move. She is frozen.
But I said to June that affects her performance because it's kind of like everything she's saying is kind of like
wry.
witty or wry. It's like, so I'm going to eat this turkey sandwich. It's like, oh, are you that funny? I don't know what you're saying. Like, I'm going to pay this bank. It's like, oh, it's weird. I don't know when she's being funny.
I'd like to pose a question to you guys and the listening audience. Should we start a campaign to be able to take away people's Oscars?
Retroactively?
Retroactively for later performances.
Yes, we should.
Well, the whole Moonstruck cast would get their Oscars taken away, right? Didn't Nicolas Cage get one for that, too?
No, he did. Did he?
But he's gotten an Oscar.
He has for leaving Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Take it away.
But then, you know what? Give it back to him for Port of Call New Orleans. Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans.
And then take it away again for Race from Witch Mountain.
That was The Rock.
That was The Rock.
Oh, sorry.
Does Drive Angry, maybe? He has a lot of movies you can take it away for.
My what the fuck moment is definitively when, like, all the girls after Christina Aguilera has kind of, like, ascended a notch, and, like, all the girls are like, you want to go out for pizza? Yeah. Okay, and then the girls all leave, and Christina Aguilera didn't leave in time with them, so she's kind of like, oh, but I don't have any friends. And then she sits at her mirror and starts putting on makeup. And Cher comes over. Cher comes over and is like, Cher comes over and is like, that brush is too old. You're not doing it right. And then Cher literally puts makeup on Christina Aguilera, and Christina Aguilera is like, my mom died when I was 7. And Cher literally.
I never had a mom to teach me how to look like a tranny.
So they literally, Cher puts makeup on Christina Aguilera. They have this heart to heart. Christina Aguilera looks into the mirror and gasps, and Cher goes, see? Beautiful. And literally the image on the screen is of a dog, like, in makeup. A clown. It is not pretty at all. Like, how that is the one scene. That is the one scene you need to nail, making Christina Aguilera look good, and she looks like fucking garbage.
Yeah, I know. It's
see?
tough.
Beautiful.
The one thing that I feel like, this may be my what the fuck moment. It's a larger concept, but this is a club that's in trouble. They can't make any money whatsoever, but yet every night they put up. It's packed, and they put up elaborate set pieces. Like Christina Aguilera, this guy, you always think, oh, did a week pass? And you find out 2 minutes later, no, that was like 2 hours ago. Yeah. And they have built an elaborate letters of burlesque out on stage with light bulbs in it, choreographed, and the guy came up with the song in the morning. In the morning he came up with it. And that's why they're bankrupt, is they're building they're rush ordering these set pieces.
Well, and they have Stanley Tucci on salary, like, every day. I mean, which is insane. I mean, I started to feel after a certain point, like, I don't think Cher should run this club. Like, I don't think she's capable.
What about Peter Gallagher?
I was going to say one of my favorite performances is Peter Gallagher as her like, harried, like co-investor husband.
He looked like a Doonesbury cartoon of like a hairy guy. Like his tie's always undone, his hair's like, oh.
Should anybody explain quickly what exactly the plot of the movie is, or no?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Can anyone?
I mean, she moves to Hollywood to become not even a burlesque dancer, a dancer. Then she finds that her true love is burlesque, and then she finds that not only that's actually not what she's good at. She's really good at singing. But in the meantime, the club is closing down.
Why?
Because they haven't paid their rent.
Oh, no, because they took out 2 mortgages and they have balloon payments coming in.
Balloon payments.
There's real specific financial crisis stuff.
By the way, there's like 4 or 5 last notice payments.
Oh, yeah. Well, then she goes to speak to the vice president of loans.
The vice president of loans. Oh man!
I hope that scene is actually not. That scene
thing.
Is not in the movie. But I want it to be on the DVD because I just want there to be a scene where.
The problem is no banks would have low lighting. They couldn't show it.
The whole movie feels like
you don't see Sharon during the day.
You never see Sharon during the day
in sunlight.
But the whole movie
Twilight vampire
because she's made of wax and will melt.
The whole movie feels like somebody's just pitching this idea. Like, yeah, so there's a bunch. So now it gets worse. It gets even worse with the business situation. And now it's getting even worse. And there's like another notice. Like the way you would pitch a movie and say like, well, not this. Like it's not going to be this scenario, but just imagine.
This is the bad example.
This is the bad example of what. That's what the entire movie was. Like not pizza. It's not like she's not going out for pizza or something. But something like
that. It'll be pizza. We'll put a pizza.
We'll just shoot pizza and then we'll come up with something on the next round.
The most generic.
Every choice they make in the movie is literally. Okay, it's a burlesque club. Okay, fine. I'll buy that. Like, there are burlesque clubs. Okay, now it's a burlesque club and they sing, it's like lip syncing to old timey songs and sexy dancing. Okay, I'll buy that. Then Christina Aguilera can sing. Oh, shit. So now all of the burlesque routines are hip-hop dance numbers.
Yes.
That's what makes me crazy. It stops even approximating burlesque or like 20s or 30s. Like some of the style is still there, but they're literally now just deeply choreographed hip-hop dance routines and songs.
And the bad guy in the movie who's been trying to buy the club the entire time, who's dating Kristen Bell, he, starts to take Christina Aguilera under his arm, and then, she's over his house and just sees the evil plans to take over the club, just out on, not even out on the table, just prominently displayed, here are the evil plans. And she's like, oh, those are the evil plans? He's like, yeah, big deal, kid, grow up. Oh,
it's just business. It's not personal.
It's all business.
And what is he? What does he do?
He has a black card.
He's a businessman.
He has a black card. That's all I know.
He's a real estate guy.
Magnate.
So my favorite moment of that is we gotta stop by this party real quick.
Yeah.
Get to the party. Hey, great party, guy. Wait, this is your party? Yeah, this is my party. Let's go outside. Yeah. But the idea that this guy wasn't at his own party at all, and then goes back and picks her up,
so that he could be at the burlesque club, which is where he wants to be
every night.
The most successful man in Hollywood loves hanging out at burlesque clubs.
By the way, if you watch the scene with him in the audience, it's the same woman sitting next to him. They clearly had him for a half an hour to shoot all of the crowd reactions over a 2-week period, and it's always the same woman sitting next to him.
Does anyone have? We talked about Peter Gallagher as a favorite character. Any other?
I have another character who I actually think got the short end of the stick, and that's Natalie.
Natalie, the pregnant girl?
The fiance?
No, his fiance.
Oh, yeah.
For the movie.
The love interest. Jack, the love interest.
Yes.
Jack, I'm sorry. Jack has a fiance when Christina Aguilera moves in. That's why she sleeps on the couch at first, but there's some sexual tension between the two of them. And then halfway through the movie, we see him on the phone with her, and then Stanley Tucci says to him, what's the line he says to him, Paul? He's like, oh, she probably is only talking about herself. Now
she's like, what are you guys talking about? Her, and a little bit of her, and what's that? Some more of her.
It's wait a second. When did this woman become a bitch? She's working.
Her play got extended.
I'll tell you what.
A songwriter never.
I didn't like Natalie.
Well,
I didn't like her because she was getting in the way of Allie and Jack's love.
Well,
she didn't get him.
Also, they kind of broke up on the phone, or you were led to believe that, and then. Again, when Christina, they have an elaborate love scene that looks like you're, again, progressing over weeks or months or whatever. And it's just really that night.
One night.
And the next morning.
I don't understand, I don't understand time.
Time is a mystery.
It literally feels as though this movie exists in a world in which some people are, on the 24-hour clock, and some people, a day is a week of time, of what we believe to be time.
Stanley Tucci will literally move from one part of the bar to the next. But you don't ever see him move. It's he's at the bar going, honey, get this drink. And then he'll be backstage, put this on. Are there two Stanley Tuccis? There might be.
That, by the way, would be a great third act reveal for this movie. Is that Stanley Tucci has a twin brother who's been in the movie the whole time.
And they both fucked that wedding DJ.
Oh, that was unacceptable.
The wedding
that
DJ.
was unacceptable.
Who they realized that might have had something real there. Maybe it's time for Stanley to stop.
Why would we spend that? That was the most lovingly shot scene. They were lingering on his reaction in that bed for a minute of screen time.
Yeah.
It's why are we watching this right now?
Stanley Tucci getting it on. Jason, my favorite line, this is actually in that scene where Cher puts the makeup on Christina Aguilera. This is my favorite line of the movie. Putting on makeup is like painting, but instead of a canvas, you do it on your face.
That is an amazing line.
That is an amazing line.
Yeah.
Putting on makeup is like a painting, but instead of a canvas, you put it on your face.
There's shit in this movie that is like Cher is the proprietor of this place. She's also its head seamstress for some reason.
Yes. Oh yeah, she sews everything.
She sews all the costumes for some reason.
And what does Stanley Tucci do?
Tucci is responsible for costuming, but I don't think he's got a good sewing hand.
Oh, wow. These are really.
So my favorite scene in the movie is when she's Cher has had a real rough night of it.
Yeah.
She's losing the club. Tooch is giving her an armful of clothes to sew up.
The Tooch is loose.
The Tooch is loose.
And she's carrying a big bottle of Patron.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Tooch, there it is. And and she's walking out for the night to go home, and the DJ's like, hey, Tess, I got that song for tomorrow night you wanted. And she's like, what? Oh, okay, let's put it up. And then we just have, and it's an excuse for Cher to literally have a solo song that she just sings in a darkened theater that is, first of all, horrible.
Yeah.
And that I assumed was setting up like some sort of final concert where she and Christina Aguilera.
Nope, never.
It is unrelated to anything else in the movie.
They clearly wrote that song for her to sing, and then they were like, we can't have her sing this song on stage because that has nothing to do with burlesque.
Yes.
Well, but meanwhile, they have 4 songs in the movie all titled burlesque. They're all variations on the title burlesque. It's like, this is how you burlesque.
How do you burlesque?
How do you burlesque? No one knows what even burlesque is.
Also, during that Cher solo, they cut back to that DJ about 10 times.
Yeah.
He's
for
our
his
way in.
reaction.
June, he's our way in.
He's our
us.
window character.
He's us.
Oh my God. I also didn't understand why there was a band on the stage, but yet they played everything off of CDs.
Yes.
There's a lot of way this club could have saved money. No wonder they were going bankrupt.
Because they are employing like a 9-piece band.
Yes.
But primarily using a DJ.
Yes.
Two customers.
And then at one point, Cher says to the band, do you guys know all the songs? Because clearly you don't play them.
They were not
the
playing
DJ does.
them.
And they go, oh yeah, we do. And because that's the thing is, in the movie, the great like moment of the movie is that she's lip syncing, Christina Aguilera and 2 other girls are lip syncing, and Kristen Bell decides to unplug the audio track so that it makes Christina Aguilera look bad. But instead, it is the impetus for Christina Aguilera to open her stupid mouth and sing amazingly. At which point, everybody in the club jizzes their pants. Right? And that starts the rest of the movie. But then the band is just literally sitting there. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute, we've got instruments. So they start playing along with her. And I was like, what the fuck are these guys doing?
What were they doing the whole time?
Well, here's what I think they're doing. I think they're there to accompany Alan Cummings during his solo
Does Alan
comic act. I think that probably happens every night.
Alan Cummings' act, which involves him putting his nose in a woman's vagina and going, ooh, P.U. That was like, that. And then somebody does a spit take, and the audience was like, whoa, I've never seen. Of course, women's vaginas are stinky. And that was like, that's this huge piece. But also, Alan Cummings, who performs in the show, also is the ticket taker?
Apparently.
Everybody's wearing a lot of different hats in this club.
Can I ask you guys a question? How did you feel about the chemistry between Christina Aguilera and the guy with the small shoulders?
and the eyeliner.
The eyeliner, the small shoulders, and the arms.
Well, I said it before. It was
hot.
Disgusting.
It was hot.
It was disgusting to me.
Really?
Yes, I feel like I'm, like any recovering Irish Catholic, I want to see a good sex scene. That was the most upsetting, uncomfortable, offensive. It was just terrible.
They had no chemistry.
They had no chemistry.
Like their chemistry was all like other characters being like, oh, do you like her? She's so, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't anything between them that I was like, oh man, I can't wait until these two fucking bone.
Yeah.
Could not care less.
Well, how about the scene where he gets really mad at her, or she gets really mad at him, and she breaks the lamp?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a very intense scene because their passion reached an all-time high. I also don't like why Christina Aguilera was so offended that he asked her to leave the house while he broke up with his fiance. She's like, you asked me to leave the house. It's like, yeah, well, this is fiance. Give the man a second to, like, break off his long-term relationship.
Well, he lied to her. He lied to Christina Aguilera, right?
Jason, come down.
Right?
Jason.
Did he?
No, I don't think he did. I think the girl, she goes, you don't break up with me on the phone. That's what Natalie said.
Which is fair.
A girl like me.
Bitch.
Natalie's fair.
No, Natalie's no good. I am pitching a sequel to this movie that is this entire movie's told from the point of view of Natalie.
I would love that.
Natalie's trying to make some money. He's working as a bartender.
And a musician who never releases songs.
Yeah, I mean, Natalie's just doing Natalie.
So, June, you learned some life lessons in this, right? This movie?
Okay, yeah, I did. These are the main takeaways for me. Number 1, don't ever buy a man footed pajamas, even as a joke, because he may wear them at some point. Number 2, if you have to choose between showing your tatties at a strip club or dancing in a burlesque club, show your tatties, because that's just
smart.
This movie
financial
would have been
decisions.
10,000 times better if I'd seen Christina Aguilera.
Oh, no, but I don't know. Her boobs are so fake. It's crazy.
Are they
No,
fake?
I actually think they're real. I think those are like milky,
I
like
think she's
child.
got- yeah.
Milky child breast.
Breastfeeding
Yeah,
boobs.
no.
Like I think those
Sopping,
are real.
Those
Sopping wet
breasts.
lactated boobs.
I've been monitoring Christina Aguilera's breasts for.
You think they're fake?
Look at Genie in a bottle, and then look 3 years, not even. Then the next video, and then look a year later, and she's all of a sudden got big bazumbas.
Okay.
They didn't just. Oh, yeah.
Here's number 3 because I think this is actually the most important one. Buy the space above your house.
Get airspace.
Have to
Air
get
rights.
Air rights. Air rights.
immediately.
That is like the financial aha moment of this movie is that she gets they sell the air rights above the club, and that way
Is that
they
James
make the money.
Brolin, by the way?
Yes.
Yes. In that one little scene.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, one scene. And he apparently buys the club immediately, writes a check within seconds.
Yes.
Within seconds, and the club is
Well,
saved.
because this condo's going on. And it's just strange that there's nothing about her journey throughout the movie and what she's learned that has anything to do with how she saves the club. It's just happenstance.
No, because Cher
Just
basically
simply
says
happenstance.
it always works out for Cher.
Yeah.
And also, it's like, it's really confusing that, I mean, burlesque seems to be a road to nowhere. I mean, the highest you can go in the career, you're only going to get a picture on the, calendar section of the LA Times. That's the pinnacle. Are you going to go,
The thing
where
that Cher
would she go
says
from
to
there?
her, I think the thing that Cher says to her, the takeaway that I believe is Cher's don't make the same mistakes I made. She says that to Christina Aguilera. But here's the thing. I then believe that Christina Aguilera makes all the exact same choices that Cher made.
Yeah, there was no getting out. She wasn't going to go record an album or anything.
No.
She was going to perform burlesque.
Yes. There is nothing to make you believe that she is going to do anything other than be a burlesque dancer for the rest of her life. Who does
And ends
not
up
do
like
burlesque,
Cher.
but a hip-hop dancer.
Which brings me to my thing that this movie does not take place in the world that we are familiar with. It takes place in an alternate reality. My number one reason for that is no cell phones. No one has cell phones in this movie. Whenever information needs to be delivered, there's driving across town, there's home phones. No one uses a cell phone. We never see a cell phone with any of these people.
Or a computer, for that matter.
You're right. Yeah, it's because it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's timeless.
That I guess that this guy, I guess this is the other reason. We've covered this a little bit, but there is that burlesque is so popular that there is a club that can support a burlesque show 7 nights a week at $50 a ticket a night. And that to me is insane. I go against you. Men in full-length pajamas are sexy. That's something that I think.
Well, we've had this discussion before, and I guess we'll continue to.
And that every wealthy man dates the stars of a low-class burlesque theater. That's where they get their dates.
What was the striptease is another point of reference for this movie too.
But strippers is different.
Exactly, and that's the thing is strippers. There's an element of strippers which is we're doing this, it's horrible or whatever, but we will triumph over this to ascend to a level that we want to be at or to get to the place we want to be. And this appears to be that place.
Yeah, they've arrived.
Yeah.
They've arrived.
Right?
What this movie was missing, though, was, I think, a big old drug sequence. I want to see Christina Aguilera, addicted to something.
Yeah.
Even the person who's addicted, Kristen Bell, is she really that bad? She has a couple drinks. She's not a little late to work.
Some pills pop out at the beginning from pocket.
But they never go
again,
back to those pills. They only say she's just drunk. And she's always doing shots of tequila
It
to lip
seemed
sync.
like Kristen Bell drank a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Just drank a little bit too much.
Yeah, just a little bit.
She basically gets drunk enough to be kind of bitchy.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But on the level of bitchiness within that theater, everyone else is probably at an 8 and she's probably at a 10.
Right.
So it's not.
But it's also her bitchiness basically contains her just lying about stuff. She's like, I slept with your husband.
Yeah.
And then comes back later and is like, I didn't really sleep with him. I just said that to make you mad. I'm sorry.
All I can think about takeaway is how many times Dita Von Teese has had to answer why she's not in it somewhere. Marilyn Manson's ex-wife, who is
the burlesque
the
queen
face
of right now.
of burlesque. And like they're like everyone, I just picture her at every party being like, "So, have you seen Burlesque yet?"
All right. Well, let's. Is this movie the worst? Could it have been worse? Could it have? Is it the worst?
I think it could have been worse.
Yeah,
I do too. I agree because I feel like with a musical like this, there are always songs that are kind of enjoyable, and dancing and like costumes. There's enough eye candy to look at that you can forgive like the 2 scenes you just saw that are horrible.
Well, what's great? Well, I would go so far as to say like it could have been worse in that it could have been like. I felt like the musical numbers were horrible. Like I felt like they were not good. I disliked them, but it could have been worse if they were a little better.
No, but like 9 is a bad movie, but the musical numbers in 9 were actually pretty fun to watch. I thought.
I didn't see it.
I love musicals, so maybe that
might be
something.
I felt like the way it could have been worse if it had been a little better. To me, it was all this. The scenes were so stupid, the dialogue so stupid, and the songs so bad. And then it was egregious how this movie just morphed into like a hip hop dance movie.
Yeah, when she started
unacknowledged.
Yeah, when she started off her first dance, the Hootenanny Harry or whatever that first dance was called, was like all weird rabbit hands,
sure,
and like all like old timey.
And they were singing to like
weird...
"Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" and like all these kind of old timey and then like all these like bluesy numbers, and then it just turns into like straight electro beat craziness, and it's unacknowledged. Yeah, it's like that's burlesque. It's really not.
No one knows what burlesque is. I believe that movie was written with somebody who's like, I think I know what burlesque is, but you don't even see you don't see anything. Like there's nothing there that I've ever seen that is burlesque.
It's like hula hoop girls.
Like,
yeah,
that's it. Yeah. It's like Major League 4 is about field hockey.
Yeah.
We got some comments. People emailed us at howdidthisgetmade@earwolf.com with their thoughts on the movie. I'll read you this. This is from Brian. He goes, "Damn you for making me watch a 2-hour Victoria's Secret ad. At least in those ads, those hot girls don't talk." That was.
I don't even think. I think that's giving this movie a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Trace writes, "As a gay man, I just like to say I'm not attracted to Stanley Tucci." So there's that.
It still boggles my mind that Stanley Tucci is the same character from Devil Wears Prada.
Well, that's where he's
identical.
Is this a prequel to Devil Wears Prada? Did he get out of the burlesque theater?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, also in Julie and Julia, like I feel like he just likes being held by tall, handsome women.
Yeah.
Also,
I feel like there's something about that he really responds to.
This is so LA specific, but if you knew where they shot the movie, right across the street is like a Bed Bath & Beyond and Trader Joe's, but they kept on treating it like, this is the Sunset Strip. This is Sunset, everything's happening. It's not the Sunset Strip. It's like far off the Sunset Strip next to a Bed Bath & Beyond. Someone else writes in, Adam writes in, Cher is the most convincing CGI creation since the Na'vi and Avatar. And finally, Stefania writes in, let me know when I can take my fingers out of my ears.
Oh.
Slam.
Oh,
right.
Slam.
I hope we should have answered that one at the beginning of the
I know, yeah, well that was yeah,
because she's screwed.
She's been having a long time with it. She didn't know how she typed that.
You know this movie has been nominated for like 3 Golden Globes, right?
Yeah. Best comedy or musical.
Well, that's it. That is because it's a musical.
Yeah. One of the only musicals.
Yeah.
But none of the songs are nominated. The performances are.
I can't imagine that. Those songs were so good.
All right. Well, I think we have. I don't know if we figured out how did it get made, but I think we got into some shit. Any
this
final
movie should have been a home run.
Yes.
In my mind, when I heard this movie, I didn't think until I saw a trailer for it, I didn't think this was going to be a shitty movie.
No.
I was like, oh, this is a big burlesque musical. I assumed it was going to be a cool a cool thing, like Chicago. Like I said, I was assuming it would be like that.
Chicago.
I love Chicago. So I was genuinely, when I started seeing like footage and the trailer, and Cher looks like a Madame Tussauds wax museum dummy, I was like, this is a fucking disaster. And how did it get made? I literally am like, I don't know, but like I wish I could be in on those meetings where people were like, yes, go.
To me, it was exactly what you fell for the trick that whoever paid for the movie did was like, Christina Aguilera, Cher, we'll figure the rest out later. And then it was like shooting. We'll figure it in post.
Yeah.
And then it was like ads. We'll make the posters look like Chicago. That's our plan. That's the big plan. It was, it was crazy. All right. So, now our next movie coming up, we have not yet decided on the next movie. But we want you to help us decide on it. You can email your suggestions to How Did This Get Made. There's a lot of good movies coming out. Maybe you want to have a movie that you've already seen. The Gwyneth Paltrow movie looks amazing.
Country Strong?
Country Strong.
But then we can stick with musical-themed movies. That'd be weird, I guess.
Any Nicolas Cage movie might do. We've talked a little bit about The Wicker Man, 2006 classic. What's your favorite worst bad movie, Nick?
Shoot, I don't know. Jason, the one you wrote hasn't been shot yet.
Oh,
right?
boy.
Slam.
Wow.
Okay.
That...
Slam.
All right, well, thank you so much for listening to How This Get Made. Give us your suggestions, and we'll announce the next movie on another short episode, episode
Crazy
1.5.
Heart. I just saw Crazy Heart.
Last year's Academy Award. All right, thank you so much. I'm Paul Scheer. And...
Oh, June. Sorry, Paul. I didn't know what you were doing.
I'm Jason Mantzoukas.
I'm Nick Kroll.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
This has been an Earwolf Media production. Executive producers Jeff Ulrich and Scott Ackerman. For more information, visit earwolf.com.
Earwolfradio.com. The Wolf Day.
The following episode of How Did This Get Made is sponsored by LegalZoom. They're helping keep the show free. If you go to LegalZoom.com and enter the code EARWOLF, you'll get a discount, and 100% of what you spend there comes directly back to the show. LegalZoom is the best place to help with your legal needs. They're not a law firm, but they provide self-help services at your direction. For more information on how to support this show and the rest of the Earwolf Podcast Network, go to earwolf.com/insider.
Now it's time for How Did This Get Made? We're gonna have a good time, celebrate some failure, not just be a hater. Cause you know you wonder, how did this get made? Let's wallow in the mediocrity of subpar art. Perhaps we'll find the answer to the question, how did this get made?
Hello, people of Earth. Welcome to the second episode of How Did This Get Made? This is the podcast where we try to make sense of the movies that make no sense. I am Paul Scheer. You might know me as Andre from the TV show The League, or as the dad from Family Matters. I said lines like this: Urkel, get out of my house. I am joined, as always, by Jason Mantzoukas, who you might recognize as Rafi from The League.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good.
And also June Diane Raphael, who you've seen on shows like Party Down and Flight of the Conchords.
Hi, Paul. What's happening?
The table just fell apart. It's all right. Everything's okay. Everything's okay.
So now, if you listen to our first episode, you know that we love crappy movies. If one of the main characters is completely CGI, we're watching it. If it's a direct-to-DVD sequel of an unsuccessful film, we're Netflixing it. The lead actor or actress of your film is currently starring on a VH1 rehab reality show, we're buying it on Blu-ray. That's how deep we go. And look, we're not trying to be haters. We aren't saying we're better than anyone involved in these movies. All we're saying is sometimes a movie is so bad, it needs to be discussed. And boy, oh boy, do we have a doozy of a movie to talk about today. You wrote into How Did This Get Made at earwolf.com, and it was overwhelming. The next movie you wanted us to talk about was the Nick Cage, Ron Perlman, medieval horror thriller buddy road movie Season of the Witch. I think it's all those things. This movie is kind of like an unfunny version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail mixed with all the boring parts of Kevin Costner's Robin Hood. And I'm guessing most of you haven't shelled out $12 to see this movie, and after seeing it, I'm not even sure that you should. So basically the basic premise is that Nick Cage and Ron Perlman play medieval knights who must transport a witch to a remote abbey because she's causing the Black Plague.
Already a disaster. Even the explanation makes no sense.
But now here, that would normally be enough, right? But this is where it gets really dramatic because Nick Cage doesn't think that's the plot. There is the plot, and here's a little taste of the movie in case you want to hear it.
I am sorry I put you into this, Wilson.
As dungeons go, this one's not so bad. We spent nights in much worse places than this. At least I have. What is that smell?
That would be you.
Hilarious. Now, here to help us make sense with this movie is our friend, host of the hilarious Web Soup on G4 and the wildly popular Nerdist podcast. Please welcome Chris Hardwick.
Thank you, Paul Scheer.
Thank you very much.
It was an honor and a delight to go see Season of the Witch with you when you emailed me over the weekend and said, will you please come see this movie? We're doing this podcast called, How Did It Get Made? I said, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. These are the perfect circumstances to see this movie. I would recommend people see this movie if they're making a podcast about how it got made.
That's about probably the only people who should see this movie.
By the way, we all saw it this morning or this afternoon together, shocked. I'm genuinely shocked at 2:30 on a, whatever it is, Monday afternoon. A handful of people at the movie.
Probably about a dozen.
A baker's dozen,
This is a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes, and people were like, you know what? Let's go to the fucking movies in the middle of the day and see it.
And I do want to make it clear, I don't just like to shit on things for willy-nilly. I went to this movie with an open mind thinking, maybe it's not going to be as bad. And then right away. Right
away, you mean during the montage of Holy Crusade murders?
I'll tell you right away during the trailers. Crappy trailers are very telling about the quality of movie you're about to see because they know, if these people saw this piece of shit, they'll probably see these other ones.
You are dumb. Yeah,
we saw 4 trailers and they were all abysmal.
Yeah. I gotta say, I feel like the title card sequences were the most visually arresting things that happen in the whole movie. Those are better than the rest of the movie.
I have to say, I held out hope. The trailers were exceptionally bad. But
let's run them down.
First of all,
what do we see trailers for?
I've never heard of.
And who have people in them that I was like, what?
Maybe we should be careful running these down.
I know.
We're friends with some of the.
That's what I thought.
Some of these movies.
Yeah.
So let's not run them down. But they would.
I will run them down.
They were not good.
Wait.
There was one movie that I will say, I won't name who was in it. You can figure it out yourself. That involved a man who took a pill that makes him the smartest man in the world.
Okay. Here's a pitch. Here's my movie. What if?
It's bonkers.
What if a man could take a pill? And instantly be the smartest man in the world? No one else has access to this pill, by the way.
It's got to be somebody. We'll make him look ugly in the beginning, and then he becomes incredibly handsome because he slick his hair back.
That's right. He usually just cut his hair.
Yeah.
Well, Bradley Cooper's pretty hot right now.
Really? Let's get him done.
Put him in. That is the worst idea because there's that line in the beginning of the movie too where he goes, they only say you use 5% of your brain. What if this pill could make you use all of it? Terrible.
Your brain would probably explode.
You probably would die because your body is not equipped to utilize.
No,
by the way,
you would go and play the stock market like this guy.
Almost certain that this is a Simpsons episode. That Homer becomes a smart person, and remember, this is literally
the crayon show.
Literally a Simpsons episode.
What happens if you become the smartest person in the world by taking a pill that no one else has access to is you fuck models on a private jet. That's how it works.
That's how it works.
Uh-oh.
So
Robert De Niro now owns you.
Robert De Niro is suspicious but respects you. But that will be for another day. Because Season of the Witch...
Every one of those movies we saw a trailer for, by the way, could be a movie we do
contenders.
on this show.
Yeah, very strong contenders. I have to say that I held out hope for Season of the Witch. That first scene was kind of okay with the priest. They kill a bunch of witches on a bridge. I was like, maybe this is not going to be so bad. But that was before any of the main actors showed up.
Yeah.
That was just about crazy witches spitting out devil juice and killing priests. Which I like.
I loved, by the way, that this movie is not afraid to posit the idea that while we've understood that the burning and hanging of witches was preposterous because there are no witches, and lots of innocent people lost their lives, this movie starts with the idea of, you know what? Some of those women were witches, actually demons. And
not
these
just
guys,
women with a point of view. They were actually witches.
These guys might have had the right idea because guess what? One of those bitches comes back as a demon and kills everybody.
2, right? There wasn't 2 at that. So basically, the movie is the Catholic Church is right.
Yeah.
There are witches causing the Black Plague.
Yep.
Spoiler alert: witches caused the Black Plague.
And they're kind of presented in that arrogant way of look, I'm not saying nothing for nothing, but as soon as we killed the demon, the Black Plague went away. It was so arrogant.
Yeah. If you've seen True Grit, it has the same kind of ending where it's a narration just sort of and life went on, and people were like, it's like just the craziest ending of like, that's it, we killed the big demon, and everyone was cured.
Everybody's great. It's awesome, right? God wins.
God wins
because of God's holy book. We win.
I want to talk about. I would love to talk about when you first see Nick Cage and Ron Perlman together, who are essentially these crusading knights who present themselves like two mooks. They're like, hey, you take the 300 on the left, I'll take the 300 on the right.
You're buying drinks tonight.
That's literally a line.
We do really need to talk about the accents in this movie. I mean, we could
Like
take
how
up
they
a
just
whole
went,
half hour.
fuck it, whatever you want to do.
Should I be?
Whatever you want to do.
I feel like at the table
Whatever you wanna
read,
do.
at the table read, they were like, you know what? However you talk, that's how your character talks. So British guys, you're British. American guys, you're American.
Well, we have to talk about the main guy who breaks the mold here. At one point, Beeman and Felsen, those are the characters that Nick Cage and Ron Perlman play. The kind of, they're really like Budweiser guys. Like they could be in a Bud Light commercial. That's what I felt like. But they team up with a thief whose accent is Chicago, right? It is a Chicago or is it Staten Island?
thought it was Staten Island. It changes
quite a bit. I'll say that. Like when they meet him in the stockades, he almost sounds like he's doing a British accent.
Right.
But then that radically changes, and he sounds like real tough and Brooklyn-y.
Well, he is he's an actor named Stephen Graham. He plays Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire. He also plays Al Capone in Season of the Witch. And what's weird about it is that he is a British actor. Yet in this movie, movie's like,
I can't believe.
Yeah, I'm a swindler. It was those terms, those weird kind of D&D style terms, cracked me up too. He got busted for swindling. Hey, what am I? I'm just trying to be an honest living.
I also love that they tried to like make everything, kind of historical. Like instead of like on my count of 3, it's like on my counteth of 3, we will pull this cart forward.
There will be stuff like that, which is amazing, and in some some approximation of a correct dialect. But then Ron Perlman seems like his character does not need any of that. At one point, he just goes to Nick Cage, "Let's get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
And at another point in the movie, he says, "Shit."
Yeah. Shit.
I just feel like they must have been like, "Cut, Ron, that's actually not the line. The line is this," and he was like, "You know what?
I'm not
going to say that.
Not going to do it.
You guys, did you get me saying shit? Okay, good. You're going to keep that."
He kind of played him a little like Hellboy.
Yeah, it was like Hellboy. That's maybe where Hellboy. This is a pre-story.
And I just saw Guillermo del Toro's Kronos last night, which I hadn't seen before.
Well, I haven't seen that.
And Ron Perlman is in that as well. And so, like, the last 2 days for me have been.
Was he like Hellboy in that movie, Kronos?
He was a little gangstery, yeah. He was kind of a badass gangster.
Oh.
By the way, side story, when I used to go to the Brass Monkey karaoke bar with friends years and years ago, Ron Perlman used to hang out there sometimes, and I saw him sing Frank Sinatra.
Oh,
just big old,
he is like a big softy that way.
Big softy, just like lumbery Ron Perlman sitting on a stool, just singing that old black magic. He was awesome.
Well, if you see this movie, you have to watch it for Ron Perlman's reaction shots, which they cut to him too many times where he's not saying anything. He just looks like, "Can you believe this shit?" Like, that's basically his underscoring look.
And which, by the way, I feel like makes him untouchable. Like, Ron Perlman is the person who comes off the best in this movie because I almost feel like every shot of him is to the audience like, I know this is garbage, but I'm fucking getting paid crazy right now.
His backstory is that he is Ron Perlman, who's been transported back in time to be in this movie.
He should have to play Ron Perlman in every movie.
Yeah.
Here's my guesstimate on what happened, how this movie got made.
Yes.
Okay. Nick Cage is in Prague, banging chicks with some rich Czechoslovakian guy. And he's like, "Nick, I have a movie for you, buddy." And so, and then he agrees to it. He agrees to it because the director and the writer's name were both insanely foreign.
Yeah, it was. It was like Dominic Sena.
And the only reason that this movie got any kind of theatrical release was Nick Cage. This was absolutely a straight-to-cable movie.
Oh,
top to bottom.
This is going to be #1 in every foreign country, but not here.
The effects were terrible.
Oh, the effects were so bad.
Well, and why did the entire... Like, I felt like daylight didn't exist during the medieval time. I mean, there was, like, only one scene that was in daylight. daylight.
Well, there was the great, of course, CGI horseback riding.
Oh, that's true.
Between
Well, that's
Nick
true.
Cage and Ron Perlman, where it's like, here they are on horses. Now, in close-up, they are
CGI.
It's the worst green screen horseback.
Ever.
The whole movie is terrible green screen. The whole Crusades fight looks like there's 10 guys on a green screen, and then they just filled in the rest.
I know that maybe this is crazy, but I just want to reiterate for everybody listening. This movie starts with like a 10-minute montage that goes over the course of 10 years of them being holy crusaders, killing heathens, like murdering women and children, and they are our heroes.
Yes, but they were murdering heathens. But when Nicolas Cage accidentally kills a woman, that's when everything changes.
Wait a minute. He doesn't just kill a woman. He kills a hot woman.
Yeah.
She's a hot woman with perfect
Who
teeth.
looks very surprised.
Everyone had
Very
perfect teeth in this movie.
And then he looks around, but that's what's crazy. He looks around and he's like, holy shit. The floor in this place is littered with women and children. Is that what we've been doing for 10 years?
I just swing and stab. I don't normally look at them.
So wait,
I've never made eye contact.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Holy guy, you know we've been killing women.
And 30 years old. For decades, there have been rumors swirling of a ghost that inhabits the building. Others still say that there is more than one. The story has gained so much traction that the library now boasts several 24/7 live stream feeds for anyone to monitor. Today, we discuss the haunting of Willard Library. This is Red Web. Hello and welcome back, Task Force. It's Monday, so you know what that means. It's time to discuss another unsolved, spooky mystery. We're going back into ghosts, Alfredo. I'm your host, Trevor Collins. With me, like I mentioned, Alfredo Diaz.
Boo.
Oh,
Yeah, gotcha.
got me.
So you're telling me, I mean, you're good, right? Ghosts, few and far between, right?
Many.
I could walk outside, get struck by lightning, pass away.
Sure.
Good chance I'm not going to become a ghost.
Or is there a high likelihood that you're a ghost?
Oh,
and
I
you just
entered
don't cross
ghost
this plane.
world, and I just don't know.
Yeah.
Cometown Premium. Sex and pussy ass.
Okay, this is round 2. I fucked up, or Adam fucked up.
I fucked up.
Yeah, Adam fucked up and didn't put. We had to get a different SD card, and the thing about SD cards is you got to put the tiny one in the big one.
I thought it was like 2 different sizes.
No, they dock. It's like
it's like gay guys.
Yeah, it's like gay guys.
Cool.
That's what they do. They dock.
They dock each other, which they already do. I think it's kind of fucked up that technology uses gendered terms to describe like male and female.
So did that chick, right? And the guy got fired, and then she ended up getting fired. Some tech convention.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but yes, that sounds exactly like something that.
It was like they kind of made a joke about dongles.
Oh shit. yeah, I remember that. You gotta come up on these mics because
oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
And she made she got mad and I can't remember what her fucking title was. It was unbelievably annoying though. The name, the title.
Mom of the internet.
Yeah, it was like something like hall monitor of something. And like, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
Like, why are you
I
here?
thought they always have like chief tech dreamer. Like they have like
yeah,
those
no, it's
kind
some
of
shit
jobs.
like that. It was a name like that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you?
Imagineer.
It's so funny when businesses try to make like work fun, and they somehow
sickening, dude.
They just make fun suck.
The worst job I ever had was like at the tech startup-y place I worked for 3 months where everyone was just playing FIFA. And I was like the new guy there, and I was like, can I play next game? And they're like, we don't have enough controllers. I was like, what is this, 3rd grade?
Really?
All over again? I have to like be bullied for being at the fun office?
That's like little brother bullying too.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I told my younger brother when he wanted to play Nintendo.
That was also the name of the business, was 3rd Grade Solution.
Exactly.
By the way, did we? Okay, so this is Karmetsker also, and this is also a Race Wars episode.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot when we fucked up and didn't record like 4.5 minutes of what this podcast we talked for 4
of gold.
Yeah, it was great.
Is it Race Town or Cum Wars? This
it's Race Cum.
Race Cum.
Yeah.
Well, they're all different flavors.
Black Cum. Yeah. Yeah, this is a dual episode because me and Kurt are both in town, and then I guess we both have to figure out a way to do both podcasts. So, hey, if you're paying for the premium episodes of both podcasts, guess what? You just got fucked over, sort of. Yeah, this is like when... You know what happened to me?
What?
Like a month ago, I started watching all of the newer Seagal movies.
Yeah, are they any good?
They're the best of all of them.
They're incredible.
Well, I started like 2 months ago. I was like, I'm going to watch every Seagal movie.
I started trying that with Van Damme. It didn't work out too well.
I did that years ago, actually, too.
Yeah, revisited Van Damme's newer work?
No, not... Well, JCVD's good. That's a good movie.
Right. No, I know. But he has like, direct-to-video action movies.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. I saw one that was kind of good where it was him versus Orlando
Orlando Jones
versus Orlando Jones.
From Mad TV. The Make 7 Up Yours guy.
Yeah.
No way.
It was not bad. It was really not bad. Van Damme was the bad guy. And I sat through it. It was not a bad movie. I can't remember what it's called. But those guys like a park ranger, ex-Marine, and then this gangster comes to kill him because he got the guy's brother killed.
Yeah.
And then Van Damme comes to... I don't know. I don't know what he does. He's a drug smuggler, but it's just like a lot of woods fighting and cool shit.
Yeah, well, like Seagal started doing direct-to-video in the '90s, and now he's doing like direct-to-Romania. If you want to buy like physical media copies of Seagal's movies, it has to happen in like the same place that a teenager is being sex trafficked.
Yeah, in the dark web.
It's like, they're like snuff films at this point.
Pretty much, dude. I mean, somebody should kill him.
Like, what is he doing in the movies? Like,
he does nothing. Because he's 64 years old and he's morbidly obese.
He's 64?
Yeah. Dude, when Above the Law came out, like his first movie, he was like 34, 35 years old. And that was like 1987 or some shit.
Wow.
What was he? He was a stunt coordinator?
He was a stunt coordinator. He was like a guy that did martial arts, lived in Japan for a while, came to the United States.
Started wearing pajamas exclusively.
Yeah. Well, he was like coordinating fights, and some agent, some like coked up 80s agent, like found Seagal. He's like, I'm going to make this guy a star.
Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
But when did he the mob get their hooks in him and force him to make Out for Justice Above the Law?
Those are the good ones. Those are the
What's
early...
the shitty ones he says the mob made him make?
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, they were kind of good. The one where he fucking slugs that guy in the gut who's yelling at him where he parked his car, and he just gives him a dead shot in his fucking stomach. It looks awesome.
Well, his whole thing was that he never because he does Aikido or whatever.
Yeah.
So his whole thing is like not actually moving much.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. When he was 34 and still kind of in shape, it like looked impressive. But now he won't get out of a chair. People have to like come to him.
He knows a martial art you can do seated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But the only reason I brought that up is like I got into the later Seagal. We call it on the show the goatee era Seagal. So anything where he has a goatee, which is
he's got a goatee now.
He has a goatee,
and he exclusively speaks like a black person.
Yeah,
now,
well, that started with Glimmerman in like
an old jazz
1996.
Man.
He did a movie with Damon Wayans. And for whatever reason, he went from being Chinese to being like a Pan-Africanist, like Creole guy.
Yeah.
And right. He's like, listen up, baby bird. I'm gonna tell you how to get out of this gang. And it was like this bizarre transition, and now that's just his voice in every movie.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but any of the newer ones. So I started watching them, but I was paying for all of them, and I talked about them on the show. And literally, I think it was because of me. The very next week, they were all free on Netflix.
It was the Come Town bump.
Yeah,
because the Chapo Boys went in on it too.
Yeah. So if you are paying for this on Race Wars in Come Town, you're being Seagal'd.
That's the second biggest pop culture accomplishment we've had since they just announced. We were riffing on the Beauty and the Beast movie on how Gaston's friend is a gay guy. And
why is that a big thing? I keep seeing that.
Well, they just announced that's Cumtown. Someone at the Ears was listening to Cumtown.
You guys said it first.
We did it as a bit, and then they just announced
LeFou is gay. And then that movie came out, and they were doing publicity for the movie. I love this story too, because like they were doing publicity for the story, and the director was like, "Oh, LeFou is definitely gay." And then a bunch of theaters in the South were like, "This movie's canceled. We're not showing it here." And they're like, "He's not that gay."
Yeah.
Why would you? I mean, what a weird thing to fucking throw out for a kids movie. Like, who gives a shit? I guess if your kid's gay, though, maybe they like having a gay candelabra. Is it the candelabra?
No, it's not the candelabra. It's the guy that's Gaston's friend, who's such a minor character.
Oh, Gaston's like the bully guy, right?
Yeah. The candle is French, so he's culturally gay.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not the same thing.
Yeah, he's literally flaming.
There you go, baby.
But that just gets us pussy.
Yeah. That's my friend. Yeah, the clock.
Wait, it's funny that
clock character in the new movie, and like instead of a clock face with numbers on it, just says cock for each one of the numbers. So it's always time.
I remember
for
it
cock.
always said that's the hiding penises everywhere of the 90s.
Yeah.
It's funny that they got mad that there was a gay character in this movie about a woman fucking an animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the bestiality is the hook of it.
It's literally bestiality.
They want some Christian
well, have you
bestiality.
ever wanted to come to bestiality? You don't want gay shit getting thrown in.
Yeah,
I
that's
like a
true.
specific thing, and my children like a specific thing.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's our official stance. We take full credit for the fact that they made Josh Gad's character in the new Beauty and the Beast gay.
Did you see Beauty and the Bestiality? No one's gay.
Yeah. Has there ever been? I'm sure there's got to be like, I feel like I've seen it, but like a meme or like a web comic where one of the Beast's servants turns into like a fleshlight that gets fucked, because they're all like inanimate objects around the house. Like one of them had to turn into some kind of, it's a mansion. There's no way a guy with a mansion isn't gonna
doesn't have at least a couple butt plugs.
Yeah, or something that he comes on.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. He's there alone. I mean, he's jacking off.
Yeah, until Belle shows up.
I've seen there've been a lot of pornos made out of Beauty and the Beast because it was around before the Disney thing even. Yeah, there's some great. I think they handle the story better in a lot of them.
Yeah, why?
Well, there's this one the one guy who was like, I guess the Gaston friend had a thick Brooklyn accent, and he was fucking the princess. And he goes, I saw a princess getting fucked by a dwarf in the forest this way. This is better, more memorable lines.
Yeah. I want to see.
That was David Mamet, I think, who wrote that.
It sounds like Mamet
I believe.
speak, doesn't it?
It's Mamet.
You got to say every line the way he writes it.
Yeah, exactly.
Glenn. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing.
Beast cock.
No,
I don't know
on that one. American American buffalo butt fuckalo.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's like a buffalo head man. That's what the Beast is.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like a wildebeest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what kind of beast he was.
Yeah. What kind of beast? That's a good bit.
Sure. I would love
Beauty and the Beast.
I want to watch a Beauty and the Beast porn where the dad gets fucked by his weird invention. That weird car like, remember the dad's like a shitty inventor?
Oh yeah, he makes like a steampunk car. Steam powered car.
Which he seems like he would be more of a danger to the community than the Beast would.
He definitely had a series of fucking machines in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Just dildos.
Yeah.
Him on a bicycle with a dildo coming in and out of his ass.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know that the cartoon porn is illegal in Canada?
Cartoon porn? Why?
I guess if it looks like there's children in it.
Oh, because kids like cartoons.
I don't know about that angle. I don't know Canada's laws, but I'm assuming that it's basically communist Russia.
How would they enforce it? Like the tentacles and shit?
Well, the way I found out about it is because a couple years ago.
Hard way.
Yeah, right. The literal hard way.
It's a dry town.
Yeah. Well, a guy tried to smuggle Simpsons porn into Canada, and he got caught.
That just sounds like a Canadian crime that you'd be doing hard time for. I tried to smuggle Simpsons porn into Canada.
Right, well, I love how the way pedophiles get treated in American prison. It's like, this guy's a fucking chomo, let's fuck him up. And then in Canadian prison, it's like, hey, this guy wants to fuck Bart, eh? We should rape this guy that wants to fuck Miss Crabapple, eh?
The only reference the only media that I've ever consumed with Canadian prisons in it is Trailer Park Boys, and it looks awesome.
That's a great show.
It's chill.
You fuck with that show?
I haven't watched it, no. I have been told to watch it a lot of times.
Yeah, they love jail. You just smoke weed and just hang out, smoke dope, hang out, play hockey.
They play hockey.
Yeah.
They're like, I hope I don't get out this week because we have the finals.
Yeah, they just love jail. They're like Canadian trailer trash.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's what hosers are supposed to be.
What,
you ever hear the term hosers?
Indiana people?
No, hockey hosers.
Hosers.
Hosers in Canada. Take off hoser, and that's like old, that's because they would siphon gas.
Oh, yeah. That's prominently featured in the show.
Yeah, that's a hoser.
They set up their own, they have an episode where they set up their own gas station in the trailer park, and it's just barrels of gas that they made their two lackeys suck out of cars. And then they get arrested. Eventually, the lackeys are in court, and they're both on chemotherapy. Because they've sucked too much gas out of cars. You ever see the movie Motorama?
No, what is that?
It's this bizarre movie, and I think it was written by the guy that wrote After Hours, which is great.
I don't know what that is either.
It's a Scorsese movie. It's about a guy goes out on a date, and then he just has this weird night.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the ambulance one.
Who's in After Hours? Wait a minute, maybe I do know that.
I don't remember the name of the actor. I know.
Was that Paul? What's his name? The dude that wrote Taxi Driver?
No, I mean the only two movies I know that he's written are After Hours and Motorama. I think it's the same guy.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
Motorama is this bizarre movie about it's like a dystopian future, and there's this 10-year-old boy that's trying to collect all these. It's like McDonald's Monopoly, all these cards that spell out Motorama.
Yeah, I remember that kind.
Yeah, and he's got a Mustang, and he's driving around the desert and shit. They used to play that and Cherry 2000 on TV all the time.
Oh yeah, Cherry 2000, the robot girl.
Yeah.
Who's that? Guy? Who played Cherry?
I don't remember who played Cherry, but it was oh fuck. The hunter is he has to hire a bounty hunter. God damn it, dude. I'm brain dead as far as this is embarrassing for me.
Yeah, because normally in New York we get all the movie facts right.
That's true.
Does it take place in the year 2000? Cherry 2000?
No, it should though. I love the movies that completely got it wrong. They guessed way too early.
Yeah,
they didn't give themselves enough time.
Yeah.
But they did get people do fuck sex robots.
That's true. So creepy, dude. The way they look now. Do you see these new Japanese ones coming out? And they got that uncanny valley horror face.
Really?
It's almost human, but also horribly not human at the same time. So
like a regular Japanese person. Very similar to an actual Japanese woman.
It's just so gross. And you just imagine that's the first use for when they get this perfected is fucking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the unspoken rule of robotics. We know where we're going with this, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like when the 3D printers came out. Everyone's, at the mics that week, everyone's first observation is they're going to make a pussy and they're going to make a gun. Those are the first two things you do.
Yeah.
And it was true. That's what they did.
Did I tell that story about trying to do that open mic bit at UCB?
No.
I went to open mic at UCB, and a guy just scribbled out a couple of ideas.
Yeah.
And I was talking about 3D printers.
Yeah,
and I wasn't familiar with the culture of UCB at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a thing about they got these 3D printers now, and you can print out a fucking 3D pussy.
Right.
So you can literally, if you get a 3D printer, you can fuck whenever you want.
Right.
And you can print a gun with a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Which means you could just print a gun and fuck whenever you want. So it's a rape joke, and it just zero fucking staring daggers at me. It's one of those shows where the hosts have another microphone and they're like, no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, the fun
And I'm like, it was just a rape joke. I'm sorry.
But you can't really print a pussy on it. I'm getting hung up on that. Can I print a pussy or not?
Well, it was a clunky way to get to my rape joke.
But well worth the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you can't print a fucking $7,000 degree from Improv Clown University.
Yeah, how much does a degree in gender studies cost versus a UCB?
Yeah.
Level.
It's comparable, probably. When you're OT level 5, I think it is. When they tell you about Xenu.
Yeah. OT find out Del Close is.
Who's the Tom Cruise of UCB?
It's Matt Walsh. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Tom Cruise?
Yeah, as with to make an analogous comparison to
Oh, you know who it is?
Scientology.
It's Flo from the Progressive commercials.
That's probably true.
She's a UCB person. Actually, she went to the same high school as Mr. Louis J. Gomez.
He went to high school with Flo?
Yeah, he was telling me that he has a big inferiority complex, that he wants to be the most famous guy from his high school.
What is his high school?
But then there's this fucking Flo chick.
And Louis went to a genius arts high school that's produced millions of great...
I don't know, where is he from? Like some...
Oh,
Where's
shit.
he from? Like upstate New York?
Yeah, he's from like the...
I don't know.
He's like Rockland County.
I always thought he was from nowhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
He's just a road...
Flo went to Puerto Rico High School. The high school
Flo from Progressive. That's like
Go Rattlesnakes.
I should think of great douchey names to drop for this job. I wish I had thought of Flo from Progressive.
Yeah.
But there's one like Progressive commercial where she's like, there's some sort of grid with her playing like 12 different characters, and it was clear that she was like, I have to have one ad where I do my characters. Like it was like such a UCB move. Like,
Well, there's one who was like the Clumps, where she was like her whole family. Is that what you mean?
Maybe it's that. Yeah. Maybe
It was like her. It was like what they made fun of in that movie with Jack. Tropic Thunder, when they were making fun of Jack Black.
Everyone's farting. The fat man. Tropic Thunder is like one of the best comedy movies.
What a good movie!
Justin Theroux.
I know, it's insane. It's very weird.
He wrote it?
Actor.
Yeah,
he wrote that movie.
No shit.
Yeah, he did. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's also really weird that what's his name, Coogan's in it for like nothing. He gets like exploded in the beginning. He plays the director.
That's right. Yeah.
And then he gets blown up like right at the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, like how well done the blackface shit was in that movie.
So good.
And it's like there's a lot of stuff.
Why isn't there still no award for best blackface?
That was probably an Academy Award up until like 1997.
Wait, was Robert Downey Jr. nominated for best support? I think he was nominated for best supporting.
Oh, really?
For the blackface? No, maybe I'm making this up. I don't know. We can look. I'll look it up right now.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't do blackface in any context. Like, even if you're making fun of blackface.
That was kind of funny, though, how they... I mean, it did, like... There was a good fucking joke. Like, he comes out in a wheelchair, like, let's do this.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like... It's funny because there's a lot of stuff I look at from even 5 years ago that I'm like, you couldn't make this now. But I feel like Tropic Thunder would get away with it.
Do you think a Soul Man remake is coming?
Yeah.
How did Soul Man
He got an Oscar nomination, 2009.
And there's your Oscar for blackface.
Yeah. I guess the movie came out 2008.
Yeah. I was looking at pictures of men's bodybuilding competitions the other day, and they do the spray tanning. You know, they like spray tan before the competition because the darker you are, like it brings out the this because the light captures or whatever the shadows and shit. And that's like, I don't understand why that's okay, but blackface isn't. Is to do like black body.
But they're not trying to say that they're black with it.
Yeah,
right?
but even if you weren't trying to say that you're black, if you just put black makeup.
The whole problem is that you're trying to say you're black. That's the whole issue.
No, if you accidentally, let's say like you were making stovetop popcorn and there was some kind of horrific accident, and you just blackened your whole face and you ran out of your apartment, you're like, I need help, your career would be over.
That's so sad. A lot of like those meth lab explosions, the guys are forever in blackface.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is really funny. The second thing that came up when I searched Robert Downey Jr. Academy Award blackface was that the next year at the Oscars, Billy Crystal was hosting and he faced serious backlash for going in blackface.
That's right. He played an old jazz man. It was so stupid.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah. Well, no, his Sammy Davis is fucking good.
It's
you ever seen
pretty
him do Sammy
good.
Davis? But I remember doing like a jazz man for like Hurricane Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
That was insane.
Yeah.
Like, dabba dabba dooba dabba.
Yeah. Well, he actually played Kanye in that video with Mike Myers, and
Oh, yeah.
that was actually just Billy
That was
Crystal.
Billy Crystal saying
in
George
blackface.
George Bush doesn't care
there's
about
a Billy
black
Crystal
people.
special where
George Bush doesn't care about us.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, what's the Billy Crystal comedy special with like Christopher Guest is in it, and he